This year, for the first time, the London Marathon is a royal occasion. The Prince of Wales will be starting the marathon, well protected against the morning rain, which has been quite heavy. It's fairly cool, very little wind, and conditions for running a marathon fairly good. The London Marathon began only 6 years ago, a modern contribution to the calendar of great British sporting events, some with roots going back well over a century. The Grand National, the boat race, the Derby, the FA Cup final, all unique British occasions, born perhaps out of eccentricity, but the envy of the rest of the world. The London Marathon now stands proudly alongside those splendid events, an annual journey through the streets of the capital city, which attracts people from every part of the globe. The great athletes, the people who run for fun, the disabled, a challenge for all, in which over 80,000 wanted to take part, and more than 20,000 will start. A world record field, and already the 5 London marathons so far have won a special place in the sporting history of the nation. The hand of friendship after 26 miles, 385 yards, and Beardsley of America ties with Simonson of North. Hugh Jones pounds his way to the finish now, the fastest marathon ever run in the United Kingdom. New British record for Joyce Smith. Mike Greta storming home for his finest victory yet. A terrific finish by Greta. A very, very fine run indeed. It wins the London Marathon for Charlie Spedding. And certainly Ingrid Christensen goes now into the record books. A new United Kingdom all-colours record for Steve Jones, who finishes really strong. striding home. The girl who won last year wins again this year, and this time with a new world best.
And Peter Hull is going to finish this remarkable 19-year-old from Camberley. Life doesn't get much tougher than that. And Peter Hull being introduced to His Royal Highness. Peter Hull celebrating this year the 25th anniversary of the British Sports Association for the Disabled and leading a group of 45 wheelchair wonders. Great Britain's Man of the Year last year. Explaining that specially manufactured arms to push him along, and a real racer's wheelchair. Loves this race and has actually raced over 100 miles as well as the marathon distance. There's Kay McShane, the First Lady in 1984 and 1985, a secretary from Cork in Ireland. Good track athlete too, competes in the Paraplegic Olympic Games. Denise Smith is there too, next to her, the Third Lady in the 1985 British Sports for the Association for the Disabled, and it's a big celebration year for them. There are more than 80 runners running on their behalf. Here they are warming up, and they regard this as a very important race in their calendar. They've been training, and there's right in the middle of the picture there, last year's winner, Chris Hallam, who went #1, just adjusting his number there, the tough guy from Wales. And he's going off to the States to look into the manufacture of even faster wheelchairs. They're really looking into the technology of this event. Also wants to take part in invitation races in the United States of America. 45 of them on wheelchairs, and it's a very keenly anticipated event. Alan Krause there, the referee who's in charge of the wheelchair wonders, and is very proud of the fact they're celebrating their jubilee with Chris Brasher, the race organizer, and he says that this year we've almost got the 20,000 together. And I'll bet they're discussing the weather and how that's going to affect the wheelies, and as a matter of fact they're worried about the weather because they say it makes them slip, especially on the cobblestones, so it's a problem for them. They'll be about 5 minutes slower than they anticipated. Problem of keeping warm too. There's Chris right in the middle. Remember the great battle he had with Jerry O'Rourke from Dublin? Well, the Welshman wants a good race again. Real tough guy. And preparations for the start. A magnificent royal occasion. Just getting a bit of discipline, coming under starters' orders. Well, fortunately, there's not too much wind about, you can see, and that's one good thing. And the pity of this weather is that it will only affect those who are the slowest, those who are out there 4 or 5 hours. For the rest of them, for those who are out there for a couple of hours, it's not going to be too bad. Forecast is that it'll clear around 12 o'clock. Let's hope it does just that. 45 wheelchair athletes. The winner's time last year, Chris Hallam, 2 hours, 19 minutes. Jerry Rourke has done it in 2 hours, 12, the Dublin man. So it's a rematch for them. 1986, London Marathon, underway. Chris being left just a little at the start, but he knows it's a marathon and not a sprint race. And of course, when we see the wheelchair athletes get away, remember too that there are many other disabled athletes taking part. There are the deaf and the blind. There are mentally handicapped athletes taking part this year as well. And today is one of those great occasions where there's a tremendous outpouring of the British public, and many of the physically and mentally handicapped will benefit enormously from the London Marathon, as they always do. Something like £5 million may well be raised. So it's a super occasion. But these fellas are athletes, and that's how they want to be regarded. And they just want a real tough race. And Jerry O'Rourke wears 3, Chris Hallam wears 1. He's in second place at the moment. and he won't want him to get away too far. But the wheelchair athletes on their way. So there we are, the 20,000 or so that follow them. The runners that make yesterday's Everest seem not just possible, but even likeable. And they'll be going all the way through the streets of London, and in particular, they'll be searching out the heart of London's East End.
The marathon route follows the line of the Thames. In fact, it has been said the course uses the river as a running rail and takes in some of the famous sights that make London such a major tourist attraction. The finish is over Westminster Bridge, which first spanned the Thames over 2 centuries ago. And in the background, the stately lines of the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben, towering some 300 feet above the runners. The most welcome sight on the course at the end of more than 26 miles. Just a mile before, the majestic open spaces of the Mall, with Buckingham Palace beckoning in the far distance. Approaching the halfway stage, the unmistakable outline of Tower Bridge. The bridge introduced by the streets and docks of East London, where the bands are already playing at the impromptu street parties.
Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain. We are singing, just singing in the rain.
6 miles, the Royal Naval College. And nearby, a diversion around the famous tea clipper, the Cutty Sark. And at the start, with the great adventure about to begin, the thousands assemble in Greenwich Park on Blackheath. More than 10,000 queuing to go over each of the 2 starting lines. This will be the start, just outside Greenwich Park, for the veterans, the virgins, who are the first-time marathon runners, and the ladies in the women's race. On the far side of the common, where Prince Charles is talking to some of the competitors, there'll be the fast start. And in the background there, Seiko of Japan, who's one of the favourites for the race, together with his teammate Kanhai. Meanwhile, David Davis is our man at the start. He's been talking to some of the thousands of competitors.
John Hampton, now where are you from?
I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, USA.
And what do you think of the English weather?
Typical from what I've heard, anyhow. Cold and rainy.
And you seem to be well prepared, though.
Yeah, I'm going to discard this when I start running. Yeah.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yes, yes. I want to beat last year's time if I can. I was 5 hours and 10 minutes last year, and I want to make about 4:30 this year.
This a genuine running festival. A carnival which has attracted competitors not only from all over this country, but from some 27 nations, we believe, overseas. Of course, we've got the two starts in the major marathon, the wheelchair athletes already on their way. And as well today, we've got a mini marathon for the first time ever, in which the competitors, all youngsters from the London boroughs, will start at Tower Bridge and run about 3 miles, about 5,000 metres, to finish at Westminster Bridge. Not following the absolute line of the finish of the marathon. They miss out the mile, but they go straight along the embankment and finish at the normal finish. There, by the way, is Veronique Marot, who is the British #1 in the marathon, standing next to Greta in the white cap from Norway, the favourite today. And the twins there, Paula Fudge and Anne Ford, first and third in the Commonwealth Games in 1978 in the 5,000 metres.
Hannah and Louise Selwood and their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Selwood, and it's Mrs. Selwood who's running.
That's right.
Well, what's he doing? What's the old man doing? Why doesn't he take part?
Got more sense, I think.
And what do you think about her taking part?
Well, second year now, so I just removed the brain before last year. I've not put it back.
How did you get on last year?
I thought it was longer than it really was, you know. I've never done a marathon before, but yeah.
What preparations have you made?
Running for quite a long time, you know.
What sort of distances?
Up to about 20 miles a time. You know,
So you think you're better prepared?
no, you're never better prepared.
That's so true, especially at a moment like this, with the start just minutes away at 9:30. Well, we've got athletes at the very top level, the elite, who are running for places in the Commonwealth Games and the European Championship Marathon later this season. There are 2 places available. First and second in the London Marathon last year, Steve Jones and Charlie Spedding have been pre-selected. Spedding will go for the Commonwealth Games Marathon and Steve Jones will go for the European. But there are 4 places left for the elite runners to compete for. And of course the girls, the British girls, are all competing for places in the Commonwealth and the European teams.
Vlog from York.
Yeah.
Conditions suit you?
Well, the last two years I've done it have been nice weather, you know. But I don't mind this weather. I'm just a bit disappointed for crowds, though, isn't it?
And I mean, what preparations have you made?
About 50 mile a week, you know, since about January. I've been running now for about 4 years.
And what time of the day do you do your training? How do you fit it in?
My lunchtime, and now at work, because I can get back to work and get a shower, you know, no problem. And then I go out on a night twice a week. I go with the club one night, you know. But I wished it was like last year, the weather last year.
But it's a day you're going to enjoy.
Yes, yes. The first one was the best, 82. I did in 4:31. And
could you beat that today?
Well, I did 84 and I got a 3:37. So I don't know, you know.
You're getting a bit older.
I'm 51.
What other sport can boast a sight like this? Thousands and thousands queuing up in Greenwich Park for the slower start. The veterans, the virgins, the first-timers and the ladies. And by the way, over £4 million is raised for charity every year in the London Marathon.
What other sport will change people's lives, as this may well do today? Here are the youngsters on Tower Bridge. The age gap this year spans 71 years. This is the mini marathon. Athletes gathered from 33 London boroughs. All age groups. There's the 11, 12 and 13s, the 14 and 15s and the under 17s in 3 races, up to 72 representing each of the London boroughs. And there's a lot of fine athletes amongst them too. A lot of them already established in athletic clubs. And our own Bob Wilson having a natter with some of them there, and these kids are looking forward to it as much as anybody.
Hello, what's your name?
Stuart Moore.
Where are you from, Stuart?
No, Croydon, Coulston.
You're representing...
Croydon.
You're representing Croydon. Do you belong to a club?
Yes, sorry, Regals.
And do you fancy this rain or not? It's terrible, isn't it?
It's pretty good for marathon running, but I don't really like it.
All right, let me have a chat with your friend here. Who are you?
Philip Goodflow.
Sorry?
Philip Goodflow.
Just come forward a bit, Philip. Where are you from?
Sussex. I used to come from Croydon, though.
Yeah, and do you belong to a club?
Yeah, Cambridge and SLH.
Are you nervous about this morning?
No, not really. It's a fun run, isn't it?
It is a fun run. 3 miles is no trouble to you, is it?
No.
It's exciting, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's have a word with somebody else. Come on through, my darling. Just come through to the front here.
It's been on TV.
Here. Now then, what's your name?
Lisa.
Where are you from, my darling?
Croydon.
From Croydon?
Yes.
And do you think you'll manage 3 miles all right?
Yes.
Is mum and dad here?
Yes.
Good. You're going to enjoy yourself. Yes. I hope you do anyway. Have a good time, everybody. Get out.
Right. 1, 2, 3. Well, in the London Marathon, of course, you've got the unknown and the famous. Hardly needs naming. Entertaining Prince Charles. And he today, Jimmy Savile, running his 50th marathon.
See you later, boss. God bless.
Just a couple of minutes to go before the starting flag drops. The field gun of the Royal Artillery will boom out the starting signal. If you don't know Blackheath Common, well, the athletes start on either side of the common. This is the blue start, the first start, and those athletes in front competing for places and prize money at the head of the field. Joyce Smith, winner twice of the London Marathon, now retired with the Royal Starter. As the Prince drops the flag, the starting gun will boom out. About 90 seconds before the start.
Couldn't have a better advisor on marathon running than our First Lady of Marathon, Joyce Smith, and only just retired, I may say. Really set all the standards for the women to follow in Great Britain's athletic team. Started life as 1,500-meter runner and 3,000-meter runner, and then developed as our #1 marathon runner.
So the athletes call forward an anxious wait. Of course, a lot of the fun runners have been out there for 2 to 3 hours already, and there's not very much shelter, Blackheath or in Greenwich Park, which has been the main problem for them, really, keeping warm. And actually the wind seems to be getting up a little bit. Just over half a minute to go to the start. The elite wait on the far side of the common. The starters on the red start are all ready to go as well. And so they're in the final countdown now, with about 15 seconds to go. The first Royal London Marathon. And straight away, they go very quickly to establish their places for a roundabout, which comes up after about 500 to 600 yards. The leaders, of course, are always in touch with the clock, and pace is all important to them, as indeed it is for the athletes in the fun run, because starting too fast is the greatest crime of all. Chris Brayshaw had a word of advice to the fun runners yesterday, which was very well based, and those are the fun runners, the veterans, which was very well based, his advice. He said, if you're running too fast for the first half of the race, to talk to your companions, you are running too fast. Actually, I think, Brendan Foster, you could extend that advice to 20 miles.
I think these days that's absolutely true, because I think nowadays the marathon is a race where you get to 20 miles, and according to Charlie Spedding, who's an Olympic bronze medalist and winner of the previous London Marathon, he says that the event's changed nowadays. He says it's an event where you go faster from 20 miles to the finish, whereas the evolution of the event, it was who slowed down the least. So talking to each other, they should almost be not going too fast so that they could do that. But this is the bit I like, these boys with the banners. I don't know whether they carry them all the way, but you see that one every year, hello Alderney, and I didn't think there would be enough people in Alderney, or runners in Alderney, to carry that banner, but there they are, hello Alderney 86, we'll see you next year.
And I think, Brendan, those gates may be the salvation of these fun runners, because it slows them down. There's no way they can squeeze through this bottleneck. They may have liked the idea of getting away on the charge, but this is the disciplined approach, and it says the snails there, and in fact they are, and they're going to be passing that point for the next 10 minutes or so. But nearly 20,000 runners on their way.
10,000 in each of the two starts. And this is the fast start. And by the way, they merge after about 3.5 miles just beyond Woolwich Barracks, the famous home of the Royal Artillery. Come down some dual carriageway there in Woolwich, and the barriers are set across the centre of the road, and after that they merge and it becomes one race. Looking at these athletes, well, it's worth reminding you, the oldest competitor this year is 81 years old Pat Riley of South East London. And the oldest woman competitor this year, as last year, Carla Ali, who does most of her training at about 3 o'clock in the morning. She's aged 72.
And Pat Riley started life as a sprinter, so there's a hope for a lot of these fellas. He ran against Harold Abrahams in 1924 and is a very sprightly 81 indeed.
You said in the opening about this rivaling the other great events in Britain, but a thing for me that makes a little bit of difference for this is when you watch the Cup final, or when you watch the Grand National, or when you watch a Test match, people don't know people who play in the Test match or in the Cup final, but everybody in Britain knows somebody who's running here today, and that's what I think makes this event a little bit special, because everybody's got a friend at work or a relation or somebody they know who runs, and I think that, you know, gives everyone who's watching this thing a little bit of a personal insight. Nobody I know ever sees anybody though run.
No, with the royal approval. That's lovely.
The blue start, and you may notice there the athletes just checking their watches as they go through, because well, one thing they always point out to you afterwards is that when they cross the finishing line, the time is wrong for the slower athletes, because of course they've had to queue for several minutes to get through the start.
Some of the 614 accountants and 102 agriculturists and 104 architects and 177 doctors and 2,604 engineers. 77 estate agents amongst them, 341 firemen, 66 farmers, 473 housewives, probably the hardest working of the lot. And everybody that was talking to me at the pasta party last night said we've got to give a tremendous vote of thanks to the wives who make all this possible. And they do. Tremendous support. And here are 473 of them running in the London Marathon. 772 policemen and 11 politicians. .67 taxi drivers wondering whether they've found the right route.
Prince Charles clearly fascinated by this special occasion. The royal seal of approval on the London Marathon. And ahead, after 26 miles, the statue, the Victoria statue in front of Buckingham Palace. Queen Victoria. And really, there'll be a lot of runners will be making, well, one or two ribald comments about Queen Victoria, because she's responsible for the extra 385 yards they run in the marathon beyond 26 miles. the 1908 Olympic Games, the distance was changed in order for the finish to be in front of the royal box. And that is the 385 yards, which has now become the traditional distance. The first mile has been pretty quick, by the way. It's 4 minutes 51 seconds. But that's not suicidally quick. And by the way, if the pictures are a little different than usual, we have not got a tracking shot today on the motorcycle camera at the moment. That picture is transmitted to the helicopter. The signal goes to the helicopter and is then reflected back, but we haven't got the helicopter flying because of the low cloud ceiling. It's got to fly at 1,000 feet, and so far the Civil Aviation Authority haven't given permission for the BBC helicopter to fly, so we haven't got a tracking shot with the leaders. We're just on fixed cameras, and we haven't got a helicopter shot as yet. But the weather forecast is that about 11:30 to 12 o'clock the weather should improve and the cloud ceiling lift.
Just a word for the organisation at the start. We always remember those that organise the finish, which looks tremendous, but a whole lot of people got that start underway. John Herring was responsible for it, and a tremendous number of people from Cambridge Harriers in particular, although I know I should forget a lot of other athletic clubs. I think Blackheath are involved, but they do a tremendous job in organising that start. And it was interesting that there was great discipline, because next year it's the ambition of the Marathon Association to have official world records, so it's got to be absolutely on the dot as the chimes ring out. So the gun goes, and there was a well-disciplined start, and well done to all those that organised that start.
Just confirmation that the leading man went through the mile in 4:51, and the leading woman was Greta of Norway, who was through in 5:28 for the first mile, a sensible pace.
That is a sensible pace, and obviously Greta is the favourite for this race. She's come here in very, very good form, and she's looking forward to this year being her last year of marathon running. She's been 16 years running internationally for Norway, and maybe she's had enough, but she's looking forward to the European Championships in Stuttgart this year, and then the New York Marathon, and she's considering seriously bowing out. But London here is Greta's, probably one of her last chances to run a personal best time, and I think she's fit enough to do that.
What a marvellous piece of organisation this is. There's no other marathon like this in the world. 33% more runners than in the second biggest marathon, the New York Marathon. A tribute to the organisation and planning of the race director, Chris Brasher, and the course director, John Disley, who's absolutely meticulous in measuring the course. And by the way, it's slightly different this year due to changes in Dockland, but of course the distance has been meticulously measured, and there is a blue line for the athletes to follow. And that blue line takes the short route all the way, which really is designed to make sure that they don't take shortcuts. In fact, it takes the short line, so the decision's made for them all the way through. Now, these athletes are going through the start some 10 minutes after the leaders.
And that blue line, Tempro paint, invented for the London Marathon and put down over 500 hours of work, put down at midnight last night and organised for today. They needed dry weather. Now the mini marathon. The 3 miles from Tower Bridge to Westminster Bridge, the 33 London boroughs. Those wearing green and grey, they are the 11, 12 and 13-year-olds. Those wearing yellow and white, well, they're the 14 and 15-year-olds. They start a little later. They start at 9:50. And then at 10 o'clock, the 17-year-olds who wear orange and navy.
What a thrill this must be, to be running part of the London Marathon course at such an early age, and actually finishing at Westminster Bridge across the actual London Marathon finish.
And it was the organisers of recreation in the London boroughs that really took responsibility for this, as well as the teachers, but the teachers being in dispute made life a little difficult, except for good old South London College in Tooley Street, in the Inner London Education Authority, who made it possible for these kids to get changed. And look at them batting out of there. They've gone off far too fast, I can tell you now. But the greens and greys are away. This is the group that start at 9:40. 12 in each age group. And some of these youngsters were on Blue Peter in the week, and boy, were they looking forward to it. Just to be part of the London Marathon, to represent their boroughs. 2,000 youngsters, and every London borough is represented.
So the Minis on their way, and they're still pouring along the road. That's just about the mile marker as they turn left on the fastest start. Well, it's quite clear His Royal Highness Prince Charles, as the official starter this year, has enjoyed himself this morning. And he's now talking to David Davis.
Well, absolutely, yes. It would be nicer if the weather was a bit better, wouldn't it?
What do you think is the most impressive thing here?
I think it's the sheer enthusiasm and the fun that everybody seems to have. That's the great thing. It's very marvellous. It brings out the best in people.
Do you find it surprising there could be 90,000 people wanting to take part?
Well, perhaps it's just grown in popularity, hasn't it, over the last, whatever it is, 5 years since it started. I mean, I think people are delightfully demented, but it's all good fun. That's the great thing.
You wouldn't be tempted yourself?
Well, I don't know. It's just the practice. I think I could do it every day.
Thank you, sir.
One day.
Thank you.
Well, the leaders are now through 2 miles. The time, 9:46. The first mile in 4:51. The second mile in 4:55. And really, it's about economy in the early stages.
But that's a good pace. That's the kind of pace that they intended to undergo. Unfortunately, I feel like everyone else that we're not a bit disappointed that we're not able to see the pictures of the leaders. But I think you explained the technicalities of that. So we'll have to just wait on the mile times coming in. But 49 minutes for the first 10 miles was the plan. And the first 2 miles have gone in quite comfortably within that time limit.
Well, several miles ahead of the athletes, our first fixed camera point, which is at Cutty Sark. Now, in case you've just switched on, that will be the first time we can pick up the leaders because of the weather conditions. Helicopter is not flying because of the low cloud base. We've got to fly at 1,000 feet to get the signals back from the tracking motorcycles and also from the heli-telly, as it's known, the camera in the helicopter. We're hoping to be airborne between 11 o'clock and 1/2 past, but we can't pick up the leaders now because of the weather until they approach the Cutty Sark, which is around the 6-mile mark.
I love the sign that said, "Be home for lunch, Mum." But these are the hopefuls. 40% of them, incidentally, over the age of 40. The age group moving up. The super vets are on parade today, and they're looking for great times. Veterans athletics is part of the boom of the athletic scene, and the over 40s are here to show their stuff, and they really are in great form. You'll see some tremendous races today. Hello, Penn. Yesterday's fitness fad is today's running boom, and this creates London's biggest street party. There'll be about 1 million people en route. There would have been more had it not been raining. The target for the housewife and the business executive, just to finish a marathon. And they know that the London Marathon is their greatest hope because they'll be cheered all the way, helped on their way.
Meanwhile, ahead at Tower Bridge, the second mini-marathon about to start.
The second of the minutes is about to go off here. I've got about 600 youngsters. Now, you're aged between, what, 15, 16?
15 and 16.
And where are you from?
Croydon.
What age are you?
15.
You're 15, yeah. And you're from Haringey?
I'm 15.
Do you belong to the Haringey Club?
Yeah.
Are you excited by this morning?
Well, I am, and I'm not because of the cold weather, like.
Let me just see if I can find one of the... oh, here we are. You're from Greenwich. What's your name?
Lucy.
Do you run for Greenwich Club?
No.
Have you ever... Do you think you'd be all right on this 3 miles?
Yeah, it's not very long.
It's not far. You'd have preferred to run the 26, would you?
No way. Never run that.
Can I have a word with you, my love?
Yeah.
You're from Hounslow?
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Mandy Dowling.
Have you got mum and dad watching? Or
Yeah,
friends?
watching.
Are they on the route?
No, they're watching on telly.
Looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Good. I hope you all enjoy yourselves anyway. Have a good time. You're off in about 2 minutes, I think. Don't edge forward and let me get out the way.
Well, they're leaving in 2 minutes, and Prince Charles is leaving Blackheath Common now in the Royal Helicopter. He's flying back to Highgrove, his home in Gloucestershire, but in fact he'll be having a look at scenes along the marathon route for the first, well, for the next half hour of the race. And by the way, if you're wondering why the Royal Helicopter's flying and the BBC helicopter is not, and therefore we've lost our shots, that Royal Helicopter will be flying at 500 feet. But of course, for television purposes, we need a higher cloud base than 1,000 feet for the pictures from the heli-telly, and also for the signals. We still haven't got any news of the leaders yet, apart from the 2 mile time, 9:46. 4:51 the first mile, the second mile in 4:55. And Chris Bracier's been back through us by radio. It's quite good out there, apparently. The conditions are quite reasonable. And the wind, 1.4 behind. It's rather unusual, actually, to get a following wind measurement in a marathon, but no detail spared.
Actually, I met John Disley last night, and he was carrying the wind gauges, and I thought it was really amusing that they're now going to use wind gauges to measure marathon times, because the wind can be blowing a gale behind you and blowing a gale in your face at other points in the course. And I think that it's technology gone mad when you start using wind gauges to measure marathons, because it's all about how fast the guy's going, how fast how well he feels, and the conditions, apart from the wind, can have much more significant effect than the wind. But technology's taking over the marathon run.
I think so, yeah. They have to have 6 wind gauges, incidentally. They're quite specific about it, and they've only followed what the Japanese have been doing for some considerable time. I suppose it's all right on the out and back courses. Incidentally, our big race, the wheelchair boys, are together. Chris Hallam and Jerry O'Rourke, number 1 and 2 last year. The battle between Wales and Ireland already underway. 45 starters in their race. Chris on the left.
The marathon, by the way, timed to the minute to coincide with the changing of the guard. That takes place at 11 o'clock, and the St James's contingent then march back along the Mall, and they're due to take up their positions for the guard some 4 minutes before the first marathon runner is timed through Admiralty Arch. And by the way, we've got news now of the leaders at 5,000 metres, just beyond 3 miles. The time 14:58, we're told unofficially. Glenn Foster of Sunderland, Steve Anders St Helens, Hugh Jones, the former winner, and Seiko of Japan are among the leaders.
His Royal Highness about to depart, but he really has made this an extra special gala royal occasion. Street parties going on. That's London. That's the sound of London. Jamaica Road, I think. I know there's at least another 2 of these street parties. There's one in Docklands.
Come on, everyone wave your brollies. Every single one of you, come on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you may think that it's pretty bad weather down here. In fact, it's persistently raining, but we're not going to let that spoil things. If you have a look at the crowd on Jamaica Road, you'll see they're all enjoying.
From Jamaica Road to the mini marathon start. And we've got race 3 almost underway. And there's the departure of His Royal Highness, and there'll be a few waving from down below.
Actually, with Prince Charles showing an interest in the marathon as it started today, and now he's going to follow the line of the race. I did draw the line between Prince Charles 1986, starting this London Marathon, and Queen Victoria in 1908, having the distance changed by 385 yards. In fact, my apologies to historians. Queen Alexandra.
The yellow and whites. Race 2, 14 and 15-year-olds. And training 3 times a week, many of these. I know that the Hounslow Club have been very well organised. Certainly Haringey have, and there have been bunches of kids gathering from all over the boroughs. And a lot of schools represented, a lot of them already in athletic clubs, but some of them not, and maybe after this they will be.
Ron, it seems a little easier to get the kids out running these days than it was when I was a school teacher, or probably when you were, but I'm sure the London Marathon has that effect. It's removed any stigma from people going out running. It's great to see that.
Absolutely, for men and for women. And what a tremendous span. You know, if we're talking about sport becoming democratized, to use a corny word, well, you've got everybody in this, haven't you? The fat and the thin, those who are able-bodied, those who are less able. We've got 80-year-olds and we've got 11-year-olds. We've got natural athletes and we've got those who will find this a very tough day indeed.
Just had the last starter going through there. Gordon Dumbrell, health service worker.
That looks like Jerry O'Rourke has taken the lead on Chris Hallam. Remember, he led last year. Jerry O'Rourke from Dublin, a civil servant, works in the Department of Education. Cuddy Sark is a site that he'll know well. Not much between them at the moment. They've got one win each against one another, Chris Hallam and Jerry O'Rourke, so this is the big showdown for them. Some of the youngsters in the green, these are the 11, 12 and 13-year-olds. And these look as though they're moving well. Some good athletes here. A number one, would you believe? Number one from 351. Number one. Gerald O'Sullivan from Haringey wears one. Well done, Jerry. 351 is closing that gap. They are at 351. Paul Barnett, Paul Ryan from Barnet. He's a 12-year-old, and they look as though they're swinging along nicely. There's a lot of evidence there that these youngsters have trained for this. They look very accomplished athletes, and that's a race that's looking very promising indeed.
Work has already started on cleaning up the coverings the various athletes have used at the start, and that really has been a problem. They won't mind when they're running in this sort of weather and these conditions, but it has been a problem really finding shelter in the 2 to 3 hours. A lot of the athletes have had to wait for the start.
I think this is where the local rotaries and round tables will come into their own, because this will be cleared. All the working groups that have been involved in this, the athletic clubs that have been involved, the Sports Council, the marshals, they will clear up this, and they will man the feeding stations and the sponging stations, all part of the massive organisation that makes the London Marathon not only possible, but makes it the great celebration here in the city. Number 10. Coming up to Cuddy Sark. That's Joe Fletcher, who was second in the 1983. Joe Fletcher from Haringey. They're doing well at the moment. 17, Mark Agar. And on the left there, 46. And that is Mark Weatherall, a 5-hour man, hoping to do better. On to the leaders in the mini marathon. 13 is the leader in the mini marathon. This is the youngest age group, and that's Keith Cullen from Hounslow. I said Hounslow were well organised. This 13-year-old is doing well, tiring just a little bit. This is a 3-mile run from Tower Bridge to Westminster Bridge, and that's a big lead. Keith Cullen of Hounslow has got away. We'll try and pick up this youngster who's spot his number. He's coming in, wearing gloves, trying to stay warm. Keith Cullen away, and he must sense that just about 10 yards behind him, he's got a race on his hands. But he's going to be first home, there's no question about that. 15:50, there you are for 3 miles. 3:58 is home as well. .358, Danny O'Donovan from of Barnet. And 3:50, Martin Snowden, also of Barnet. So Barnet have done well in that opening race of the mini marathon, the 11, 12 and 13-year-olds. One more group ready to go. Remember, this is a team race. Race 3 off at 10, the 17-year-olds or the under 17s. And of course, the Amateur Athletic Association will not allow anybody under the age of 18 to run a marathon. This is why this race was organised for the younger age groups. Those running, it will be the boys running in orange, the ladies, the young ladies in navy blue. And again, all 33 of the London boroughs involved in this.
Well, I'm in front of the third and last group of mini marathon runners, and I've got 2 attractive young ladies here with me, and a lot of lads as well. Now then, my love, where do you come from?
Hanwell, Ealing.
What's your name?
Julie Dowling.
You're used to running more than are you?
Sometimes.
I mean, 3 miles presents no problem to you, does it?
No.
Would you really, I mean, if you got itchy feet, would you have loved to have had a go at the 26 miles?
Yeah.
Do you think one day you'd like to do that?
Yeah.
And you're also from Hounslow. Your name?
Bernadette Fanning, yeah.
Have you been in training for this event?
Yeah, quite a bit, yeah.
Do you look on it as a race, or do you look on it as just a bit of fun?
Both, really. Take it as both.
You are taking it very seriously?
Yeah.
Are you getting at this moment?
Bit, yeah.
There's about 2 minutes, I think, to go.
Yeah.
Let me have a word here with one of the lads. Kenton to Chelsea?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Wandsworth. Yeah.
You are? You like football as well as you're running?
Yeah, a lot.
What is your specialist event in athletics?
I think it's probably the 100-metre sprint, but I do like having a go at this.
Oh, right, but you're really a power man?
Yeah.
Well, we're edging forward now, so I'm going to have to let you go. Good luck to all
thanks
of you.
a lot.
Cheers, Bob.
I want to know what a Wandsworth lad is doing running for Kensington and Chelsea. But there they are. Harrow, Hounslow, very good club and look well organised. Barnet have run well. The Marshals doing a super job there, holding these enthusiastic runners back. But these under 17-year-olds know what they're doing, and there'll be some All England schools champions amongst this lot. All of them trained for this. Look at this steadying influence, bringing discipline to bear, and this is the time, of course, they have to learn the discipline of the event. Weather seems to be getting a little better. It's soft rain, but it seems to be lifting just a little. Each of these will get a souvenir medal, get the VIP treatment, get the big wrapper. Just edging forward to the start line for their 10 o'clock start. And they'll be home around 10:35, this lot. Splendid piece of organisation. Hold. It's all right, but they're being pushed from the back and they're away. The third mini marathon underway. 3 miles, and they too have gone steaming off. It really is a bit quick. Sanity will return after about half a mile, I should think. But that too is a lovely sight. The girls in their navy blue, boys in orange.
Meanwhile, at Cutty Sark, the leaders are approaching the 6¼ mile point. This is around 10,000 metres, and this is the news. Leading group includes Steve Anders of St Helens, Seiko of Japan, 2 previous winners, Hugh Jones and Mike Grattan, Anton of Spain and Stig Husby of Norway. Those are certainly among the leaders. The 5 mile time, by the way, quite quick. It was 24:10, which means they're knocking out 450 miles. And if that's to be believed, Brendan, and I've got a 6 mile time now at 29:02, so it looks fairly consistent. They're on target for something around 2:7. Seiko's there. Steve Anders is the tall figure. Hugh Jones in the blue vest. And number 9 is Husby. Number 23 up there, Anton of Spain. And the other Japanese, Kanhai, is with the leaders, number 5. Christoph Herler of West Germany in the black kit going through. And they're already beginning to get away. Steve Anders, number 81. He's run just over 63 for a half marathon. Followed by number 1, who's Seiko, winner of 6 marathons, 4 in Japan and 2 in America. Kanhai in 3rd place, wearing number 5. And just behind him, Hugh Jones. Also there is Husby and Christoph Erler. So those are the top 6. And they're already beginning to stretch them out. And Brendan, that pace news, if it's to be believed, and it looks to be right, is pretty quick now.
That pace is almost, it's under 2:8, it's 2:7, and it's close to world record pace. And I noticed Steve Anders is doing absolutely right. He's doing a great job there. The second group, there's Kevin Forster from Gateshead Harriers, and number 30, Henrik Alban of Denmark. So, I mean, there's other race going on here because there are places at stake in the Commonwealth Games and the European Championships. So I think people like Kevin Foster, who I was expecting to run well, he's probably weighing up who's in front of him and who's next to him, and probably trying to do enough without killing himself to make one of the teams this summer.
And we saw Lindsay Robertson go through, Brendan, and he'll be hoping for a place in the Scots team for Edinburgh. Lindsay Robertson was wearing 39 from Edinburgh AC.
As they go through, a check on the pace. The first mile, 4:51. It's remarkably even. Then 4:55, 4:43 in the 3rd mile, which is a downhill stretch. 4:50, it's slightly downhill. There is a gradient on the course. It drops from the start to the finish. So 4:51, 4:55, 4:43, 4:50, 4:51, 4:52. And that is ideal pace-making because it's so even.
Well, Steve Anders is doing a great job with that pace, and I think this is his marathon debut. He's run some very, very good half marathons, and as long as he doesn't get crazy in the next 5 or 6 miles, then I think he should be considering about how fast he's going to finish and not worry too much about that initial pace, because there's only about 3 or 4 people going with him, and it's all about trying to qualify for the games for Steve Anders.
Race medley just went through shot there. Tremendous background, 5,000 metres, 10,000 metres, and now marathon runner. And the mini marathon will be on its way. And these here's the mini. Ian Runsan. 5:64 is looking prominent. 5:64. Oh, and there's a 6:87 in trouble. 5:64. 5:64. There's a little toddler there going through. And that's Alison Angel, wearing 5:64. We saw her go through. And coming up really hard, look, overtaking the tail enders of the youngsters, wearing 9:51. He's looking very good. Lewis Jackson, the 15-year-old from Enfield. Here he goes. Lewis Jackson from Enfield.
The athletes now, and these are good club athletes, going through past Cutty Sark. They come along the main road, and there's a little diversion here around Cutty Sark, the famous T-clipper, before they rejoin the main road and go on their way to Surrey Docks. Got a 7 miles time now. Greta Weitz has just gone through, by the way, the leading athlete in the women's race. And the 7 mile time for the men, 33:54, another 4:52 mile.
plenty of room to let the wheelchair athletes race alongside these athletes. They start separately, of course, because they could cause a bottleneck, but they're out of their way and weaving in and out without causing any obstruction. And they're not looking too distressed, these youngsters, as they come up to the finish. Westminster Bridge, the same finish as the marathon runners, and you can see the yellow shirts getting involved. Middle of the pack. .926 just went through there, one of the Bromley runners. 3:70, finding it a bit tough to see Matthew Brown go through. That's Barry Town of Greenwich, age 12, and dying for the finish. Just hoping it's going to come up very soon. He can see it now. He'll be home at Barry Town. Good finish from this. Looking very strong indeed. Of course, the computer's whirring away to sort out who's winning this team race.
I've got a regional interest in an athletic club, Ron. I was up in Wolverhampton yesterday for a men's road relay, but the youngsters up there are very, very jealous of these youngsters from the London Borough. And perhaps sooner or later we'll see a nationwide mini-marathon.
Yes, I think there's a lot of feeling that that should happen. And this, of course, is one of the great recruiting areas. I mean that in the best sense. It's youngsters attracted from schools, by the Borough Recreation Department, training on local tracks, and all the clubs are there. And this is where they can start their athletic career. And I'm sure it's true of Gateshead, Brent.
Well, that's right, Ron. Last summer there was a kids race in Gateshead, finished at the stadium, which was it's their equivalent of running the London Marathon. And there were 3,000 kids running. So this is the fact that we've brought it to national attention by being seen on TV. They'll be queuing up tomorrow. The kids are in Scotland and all over the place wanting to get in their version of the London Marathon, and so they should if they want to.
Yeah, I think it's been said, you know, questions have been asked, why can't the youngsters run in a marathon? And yet the medical evidence suggests that youngsters under 16 or so shouldn't run more than 10 kilometres. Now, that doesn't mean to say that they're going to hurt themselves necessarily if they do, but the strongest medical advice is that for all sorts of reasons they should be attracted to races of less length, and it's less distressing. And of course these bones and joints are still growing, so they shouldn't be attracted to actual marathon distances, but there's nothing wrong with training sessions of up to 10 kilometres. And indeed we're finding that that distance and the half marathon distance is gradually becoming more attractive than even the marathon distance, because it still is a bit of an Everest, and the number of people are being attracted to major races is for the lower distance, the more manageable ones, where training can be reduced maybe to 4 days a week rather than every day.
Can those kids go home, Ron, and tell their parents that they've run the London Marathon, though?
Sure they can. They ran in the London Marathon, and that's good enough.
The athletes at Cutty Sark now, and the real bunch is going through. This just beyond 6 miles. And of course they merged after 3.5 miles. We've got some more information now on the leaders, and very little has changed, except that we've now got Pat Peterson of the United States on the leaderboard. The information we've got actually is that Steve Anders, Seiko and Kanhai, the top three there, are some 10 yards clear, just beyond 7 miles from Hugh Jones, who's then 10 yards ahead of Christoph Hurler of West Germany, Peterson, United States, and Husby of Norway. Check there on the pace.
Some of the fun runners going through. And a lot of vets amongst them, a lot of over 40s.
We've got an 8 miles time now for the leaders, 38.39, a 4.45 mile between 7 and 8.
Well, that kind of pace, 4.45 per mile, takes them almost on world record pace, possibly even under world record pace. And I think the conditions are fine to run that kind of pace. I think Seiko is a good enough marathon runner to keep that going for an awful long way. So I think overall that pace is contributing enormously to what we hope is going to be another record-breaking London Marathon. We've seen the numbers this year setting new records. This is the biggest number they've ever had starting, and I would think they'll easily exceed the greatest number of finishes they've had. So overall, with that kind of pace, great contribution from Steve Anders setting that pace. London looks like it's going to break another record run.
Indeed, and the minus that we're seeing under the times, Brendan, I understand, means that they're faster than the time of last year, faster than the course record time. So every time you see a minus, it means they are running faster.
And looking at the masses here, I'm going to have to do some apologising tomorrow when I go back home to the runners at home, because we didn't see the race itself. But I'll apologise now. It's technical problems. It's not our fault. We'd love to see the leaders, as well as to see all the carnivals and the band at Jamaica Road and so on.
And that pancake flipper that just went through, I think he's got his own personal record. He's going to toss a pancake the whole of the 26 miles, 385 yards. And they're going to be cheered on all the way. Fans everywhere, despite the rain. This is at Cutty Sark. Back to Jamaica Road. The Pearly Kings and Queens are there. And nothing will slow them down, I assure you.
Watch these two. I met these hula.
And they'll be greeting the leaders fairly soon.
She used to play ukulele under coconut tree. And when I said...
Oh, lovely. This is what we want. Steel band at the Tower Hotel, keeping themselves protected. And we saw a Rastafarian earlier up with the lead group, so he'll be delighted at this. The Thames looking beautifully calm. I think the rain is slowing down a little bit. And Frank, you're being urged to come on.
When you look at that shot of athletes approaching the 6.25 mile mark at Cutty Sark, you realise what a mammoth job of organisation this is. I should think the girls in the marathon office, led by Sue Richardson, are sitting back and relaxing a little bit and breathing a sigh of relief. Over 25,000 were accepted for this, over 80,000 applied, but Chris Brasher tells us that was a calculated risk to take more than 25,000, because experience shows that through illness, injury, and in some cases sheer inertia, there's quite a considerable dropout. And they were hoping that not more than 20,000 started, because they couldn't handle them at the finish. We've no actual news of how many did start, but certainly it's a world record figure.
It was 19,800 that had registered late last night, and they didn't expect many more dropping out. So they may not have made the magic 20,000, but it's still certainly a world record, the biggest marathon ever. And the point that I'm dreading, Bren, is there's a number of friends tomorrow that are going to say, there I was in the middle of the screen, you didn't recognise me.
I've never recognised anybody, and I know plenty of them. They say I was on, and you know me, and you saw me, and I say, well, I'm terribly sorry. But when I look at these masses of runners, Ron, there's one issue that really concerns me. Toshiko Seiko from Japan is the fastest marathon runner in town today. And
yeah, we'll get
the leader in the junior race coming in now. Sprint finish number 1624, Christopher Stanford from Canterbury. Great run that was.
Actually, I think it was Nigel Flint, who's a Harrow boy. He's only 17. Just with that tremendous sprint finish, just managed to take it.
So, good tough races going on in the mini marathon. 1:6:24 and 1:6:25 together from the mini.
As the youngsters go through, we've got news of Greta who's leading the women's race. 8 mile time, 41:13. Sorry if it irritates some of the viewers who've been with us from the start, but I must explain that because of flying restrictions, we're not able to follow the leaders on our mobile cameras, the motorcycles, and also the helicopter. The cloud ceiling is too low for our television cameras to fly with a helicopter. We're hoping the weather will change, and the forecast is that it will change by 11 to 11:30, hopefully, and we'll be able to get airborne then. That means we can only follow the leaders on our fixed cameras. And the fixed cameras, the next point we can pick them up, Jamaica Road, which is approaching Tower Bridge, and the 12-mile mark, just beyond the 12-mile mark.
Well, it's great to see the kids crossing the line with that spirit. I mean, we've seen some decent runners amongst these kids. Hopefully we'll see some of them step up to the marathon. But I was making the point earlier that the second fastest marathon runner in town, young South African boy, Mark Platjes, who I spent some time talking to yesterday, and whilst he's sitting in his hotel watching this race, my heart goes out to him, because he's run 2 hours, 8 minutes and 58 seconds. He's from South Africa. He's a coloured South African, and there are 40 white South Africans running in this race today. And he explained to me, he said, look, the white South Africans have ancestry in Europe, in Britain and Holland and Switzerland and so on, and they can come and get passes to run in these kind of races. I'm a coloured South African, and I have no ancestry. I'm a South African. I'm an African. I want to run in this race. I'm the best runner in South Africa. He said, I've travelled here with these other people, and he said, and I can't run. Ron, that's politics trapping someone who's done no harm.
They're called passports of convenience. The South Africans that are running in this race are running under passports of convenience. There's the Gurkhas, and we're delighted to see them. It is a truly international affair. Brendan's absolutely right. There are anomalies that exist, and if only we could salvage and get rid of the passports of convenience, perhaps the South African problem in sport would be solved.
Some fascinating figures actually emerging from this marathon. As you look at these runners going through, by profession, there are over 2,600 engineers. There are 11 politicians, there are about 40 stockbrokers, there's 67 taxi drivers, there's nearly 800 policemen, and a word about the policemen, by the way, they make this possible, the city and metropolitan policemen, because their services are free, and the barrier work they do is invaluable in organising this. There are about 60-odd farmers in it, 170 doctors, more than 600 accountants, and, well, there are nearly 500 housewives as well.
And I understand, David, that not one of those policemen that marshals this course charges overtime on the day of the London Marathon, and that is absolutely marvellous. What about the St John's Ambulance Brigade too? They're out here en masse, 600 or so of them, and they'll be mopping up and rubbing down. And when we get to the cramp and the tired and aching limbs, they'll be on there just urging these on. A lot of the fun runners still up with this lot. I saw one man go through with a heart scanner appeal. There's every one of the major charities involved in this, and the muscular dystrophy group, the Marathon group, where the captain is Harry Carpenter. I think they've got over 1,000 runners running for that one charity alone. That's Marathon, and they wear red vests, and really tremendous job. And just at the gathering of the British Sports Association for the Disabled last night, they were giving out some T-shirts and a cake to celebrate their 25th anniversary, and we quickly sold slices of the cake and raised £100 in no time at all. It really was a lovely, lovely gathering.
mini marathon. Well wrapped up against the cold, but of course these are not bad conditions. I must stress that for marathon running. It may be a problem to the people who are out on the roads for about 5 hours. They may get chilled, but for the quicker guys and girls, it's going to be fairly good running. We've got news of the leaders, by the way. The leading group: Seiko Japan, Anders St. Helens, Kanhai Japan, Hugh Jones of Great Britain, a former winner, Stahl of Sweden, Peterson of America, Hughesby of Norway. So that's the leading group, plus Christoph Herrler of West Germany.
And news of the wheelchair wonders: Jerry O'Rourke from Chris Hallam. Jerry O'Rourke from Dublin, a civil servant at the Department of Education, was second to Chris Hallam. He got edged out, and that's not Chris behind him. I think that's that looks like Mike Bishop. He's wearing 7, certainly wearing 3 is Jerry O'Rourke. Jerry O'Rourke, a double amputee. And it looks as though Chris Hallam has been edged out of second place, and I think it's Michael Bishop from Church Tower in Gloucester. And Hallam is in third place. I think it's Mike Bishop. And they're dreading the cobblestones.
That's the scene in Jamaica Road, which is approaching Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge is just beyond 12 miles, and they come off the Surrey docks at this stage, then come up Jamaica Road and turn right over Tower Bridge. And the crowd waiting there for the arrival of the leaders. Latest time news we've got. And they're knocking out 450 miles fairly consistently.
Well, 48.13 for 10 miles brings them close to world record pace. 2:07.30, around about that kind of time. And the conditions, as I said earlier, the conditions are fine to do that. And the runner, Seiko from Japan, is good enough to do that. So, you know, the London Marathon is again living up to its great reputation in overall quality standard.
Each morning at dawning, birdies sing and everything is sun. Kiss, kiss, and don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up those golden gates, California, here I come. So pack up all my cares and woe, here I go, singing low. Bye, bye, black. Ladies and gentlemen, come on. When somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is she. Bye, blackbird. No one here to love or understand me. All the time the stories they all can be. Make my bed, not the light. I'll arrive late tonight. Blackbird, bye-bye. Let's have you all singing, come on. Pack up all my cares and woes, here I go.
The athletes must be very close now to the band in Jamaica Road. We've had an 11 miles time, which was 53 minutes 10 seconds. The last mile 4:57 as they came through off Surrey docks. The road service, by the way, much better than it has been through the docks in previous years. It's improving with every year's running of the race. Incidentally, Greta Weitz's time has been corrected. Her time was impossibly fast at 8 miles. We are getting all these times remote, but it does look as if the men's race is being timed, or the information we're getting is correct. Certainly the women's race has been a bit slower than we've been reflecting, I think. But the men's race, they're still, we believe, on schedule for one of the fastest marathons ever run.
I think Toshihiko Seiko has got something to prove, because he's undoubtedly one of the world's greatest marathon runners, but the last time he was in England, he struggled badly at Milton Keynes about 8 years ago.
Well, I'm not quite sure we'll pick up the athletes here, but it looked like a couple of the police outriders going through there. We might just get a glimpse of the leaders. You can spot them. You're as remote at home as we are. The numbers are 1, Seiko of Japan, 81 is Steve Anders of St. Helens, number 5 is Kanhai, Japan, number 4 is Hugh Jones, Great Britain, number 8 is Stahl of Sweden, number 6 is Peterson, United States. Christoph Herrler is number 3 from West Germany.
the road.
And of course we should get good coverage when they go on about half a mile up the road to Tower Bridge.
Dancing in the street lane.
There's
now.
the lead timing car. So it rather looks from that as if our timings, which have been flashed back from along the route, our mile timings in the men's race anyway, have been pretty accurate. And there is Steve Anders in the red banded vest from St Helens. Alongside him, that looks like number 1 Seiko. There are 2 Japanese up there, but I think that's Seiko, the faster of the 2 Japanese, and it is. He's the fastest man in the race this year. He's won, I was just checking back actually, he's won 5 marathons in Japan, and he's won once in, I think it was Boston. But in fact, when he's run in Europe before, he's not done outstandingly well. But they're playing along very, very nicely indeed. It was said that Steve Anders would be in there to set some sort of fast pace for the athletes. But Steve Anders is a dangerous athlete in his own right. He's had some very, very good half-marathon form, and no one can take liberties with him. There's Hugh Jones in 3rd place going through. He's a previous winner. Mike Grattan was with the leaders, another previous winner, but he has been dropped.
Enjoy at last for these spectators, because they've been waiting, a couple of hours for the first of the athletes to appear. Seiko, the inscrutable Seiko, who really is one of the iron men of marathon running. And there'll be some familiar faces. Christoph Hurler certainly in this bunch. So all the big men appear to be up there.
Hurler's on the far side there. Number 69, also with them, is of Norway.
And Pat Peterson's with them, and Pat Peterson's a man who's a big threat. That's the American, the 26-year-old. He's a 6-footer. He wears number 6. Pat Peterson, one of the big threats.
News of Greta Weitz. We've had a corrected time now, and it looks more sensible. Greta Weitz, we're told, went through 10 miles in 54:24. Personal best is around 2:25. She's only ever been beaten in one marathon, by the way, that she's finished. That was the Olympic marathon when she was 2nd to Joan Benoit. Mike Grattan going through. Former winner, as Hugh Jones is. But they're quite a bit off the pace now.
Christiansen of Denmark was one of those in that pack, wearing 18. Sven-Erik Christiansen.
And there's Kjell Erik Stahl, one of the most consistent marathon runners in the world. He runs about 20 marathons a year, and he's absolutely, every time there's a marathon, he's there and he's running in it.
Actually, Chris Gracia was telling me, Brendan, that Stahl had to guarantee if he was running in the London, he wouldn't run a marathon in the previous month.
Well, that's quite difficult for him because he loves the marathon. He ran about 30-odd marathons 2 years ago, and everyone who, but he still runs well. I mean, it doesn't seem to harm him. It would harm most normal runners. I don't think anyone's ever run as many marathons as he has.
That's right, but he was asked to slow it down for the London. That was Philip Mills, 27, in the wheelchair, incidentally.
The athletes going through now, the chasing groups, Jamaica Road. Meanwhile, the leaders are approaching Tower Bridge. Just beyond 12 miles. Check on the times we've got. Way inside 5-minute miles. 4:50 brings them back in just over 2 hours, 7 minutes, and they're still on schedule for that. Steve Jones's course record is 2:8:16 set last year, and they are inside that time at the moment. Steve Anders still alongside Seiko of Japan. Seiko's best time is 2:8:38. 4 times the winner of Fukuoka. He won the 1983 Tokyo Marathon, and also first in Boston. Seen him on the track over here. He also ran in Milton Keynes when he was way back in the 60s some years ago. As I said before, his European form has not been good. He's keeping a careful check on the pace, and they're both looking very relaxed. Hugh Jones in 3rd place at the moment. Hugh, who was the 1982 winner, 2 hours, 9 minutes, 24 seconds. He's way inside that pace. And he looks, Brendan, as if he's finding it hard.
He does, but I think he's come out of that second group because the second group was further behind than that. So Hugh Jones is making a rush here because I think Anders is here as a pacemaker. Seiko arrived, he asked for a pacemaker around about 2:8. He's got a pacemaker who's taking him around 2:7:40 or 2:7:30 even. So he's got what he wanted. And I think Steve Anders will be thinking about, do I keep going? Do I try and win the race, or do I just keep going as a pacemaker? And I think Hugh Jones in second place. This is a psychological halfway point, and I think Hugh Jones is going to start thinking about his overall result now.
Hugh ploughing on, and he's got in his sights, of course, a place in the European Championships in Stuttgart. He said that's his declared intention. Steve Jones already picked for that. And there's Alistair Hutton, the leading Scotsman, wearing number 2. He was third last year, and he's not very pleased with the Scottish Commonwealth Games selectors. Alistair thinks he should have been selected as of right, and a lot of people agree with him.
One of the Turks behind, sorry, that's Terzi, and one or two very good Turks in this race. Terzi running just behind Alistair Hutton there.
But there's Alistair Hutton leading that group, and I agree with Alistair's opinion. I think Alistair should have been selected for the Commonwealth Games. I think Scotland needs athletes of his calibre and of his quality, because I think he could have had a chance in that event. So he's running well again. We often see Alistair running well. Whenever he comes to England, he certainly gives of his best, and he looks pretty good there.
Just behind him is Terzi the Turk. Just behind him, Kavernmo of Norway. Pat Peterson is there as well in the headband.
Christoph Hurler just at the back of that pack. And 10, here's Kevin Forster from England, the Gateshead athlete. Mike Grattan in the centre of that pack there. 116 is Phil O'Brien, the old Gatonian, on the left of that pack. Number 11 is Cedelio Keita of Portugal. There's another Turkish athlete there. And 74, that is Ahmet Altun. Failed to finish in the Los Angeles Marathon, but has had a good time since then. 41. We'll just check on. Ewan Ellis from Cardiff, a Newport Harrier. Best of 2 hours 15. He reckons he's going to do 2 hours 14. He's just about on schedule for that.
David Long is 2:39. Member of the Massey Ferguson Runners Club in Coventry. And he's way inside his best time, which is 2:25. Greta Weitz coming through at Jamaica Road. She's now approaching 12 miles.
Interestingly, David, she hasn't got her elder brother running with her as a pacemaker. He injured himself earlier in the week. She's got a younger brother, but he's nowhere near as fast as Greta. But there's always a group of athletes that run with her. And I think some of the Gateshead boys might be out there, Brendan. And there she is. Got a phalanx of runners to protect her and keep her going along. A lot of good club men out to help Greta Weitz of Norway.
And didn't she look very comfortable there? We've no news, by the way, of the British runners down the field, but of course it's very, very difficult indeed to track the women's race because they get so mixed up with the good male club runners. Veronique Morrow is the #1 Briton, and she is the fastest Briton ever.
And Veronique Morrow, we're looking to improve on her own British record. She's in that kind of form. She ran 70 minutes for a half marathon a couple of weeks ago, so she's looking to significantly improve on her 2:28 British record. Just leading that group there of men is Ray Smedley and a former winner just with him, Inge Simonsen. But we can't actually relate these and how far behind the leading group there, which is a little bit of a problem. But Greta in that group, I think, is running under her personal best time. But I don't think she enjoys entirely being totally surrounded by men. I think she's much happier running with her brother. She's running around the world with him, and he's pretty good, you know. So often when he's not there, or this time when he's not there, she's been taken up by about 20 others, which is a bit of a problem.
Got some pretty startling news from the halfway stage, if it is, or just approaching the halfway stage. This is supposed to be the official time, and I've no reason to doubt it. 62 minutes, 54 seconds.
Well, that halfway time of 62 minutes, 54 seconds, it's a bit quick, David.
I agree. I've just got a corrected time. That was 13 miles, actually. It's 63:30, but that's still quick. In fact, they're on target for 2 hours, 7 minutes. If they can run the second half as fast, which one would doubt, but having said that, They may well do with the pressure. And not a bad day for the leaders in a marathon at all. The weather's cool. The wind in the main has been behind what there is. And there's one of the Paula Fudge and Anne Ford, I think together there, the twin sisters, pretty well. They look to be well up. I didn't see Veronique Marot go through. On paper, she ought to be ahead of them. But none of the girls going through, just hidden slightly. .162 going through. Youngster in the mini marathon, finishing there and enjoying himself, running backwards. But actually 63.30 at the halfway stage, Brendan. They're really pressing it.
That's right. I mean, 63.30 brings them home in world record time, and you said that you know, whether they could run the second half just as fast. And then 2 years ago, I would have said there's no way, because people don't run the second half fast. But these days, since the great runners have stepped up to the marathon and the pressure has increased on the marathon, then people can come home faster than they go out in a marathon. So this record of Carlos Lopez with Seiko pressing it has got to be under threat. This London course is produced some great times. Last year's record of Steve Jones, 2:8. I mean, so you know, let's not dismiss it yet. It is quick, but it's been consistent. It hasn't got. They haven't gone out and slowed down. So I think there's an interesting next half of the race to look forward to.
Max Colby on the left, and we saw young Jeremy Jay from Barking and Dagenham, the 15-year-old that ran backwards for his mini marathon. I thought Max Colby was going to run with Greta. I don't suppose he'll be far away. It was anticipated that they might run together. Max, of course, a very experienced runner. But we're looking for Greta in the middle of this pack. And there's some well-known marathon runners in this group, some steady old runners. There's Greta, running one. Soon to retire, possibly after Stuttgart at the end of this year. Really brought marathon running into the consciousness of the public as far as women were concerned. Raised the sights enormously. Began life as a high jumper, would you believe? She was first recognised as an athlete by Terje Pedersen, the world's first 300-foot javelin thrower, and suggested that she took up athletics. She began as a high jumper, then started running, and there she met her coach, who's now her husband, and he will be in the lead car, carefully monitoring everything that she does. Husband Jack. Greta Weitz then, still setting the standards.
A couple of useful club athletes with her. We think this may be the second girl. And it's Mary O'Connor, if that's right, of New Zealand. A regular competitor in the London Marathon. She's been here before, and a very good athlete too. Mary O'Connor, just to give you one or two details, she's 31. She's got a personal best of 2:28.20, which is fast. She was second in the London Marathon in 1983 and fifth last year. Greta's got one or two useful club runners. There's Peter Probin of the Military Services Aldershot, a member of the Army 3As, and Roland Gibbard of Charnwood Athletic Club, 164 and 234. They're low 220 marathon runners, and that's Greta's target. Just trying to track the ladies' race. We've got the first two through, we believe, but of course, being remote, it is difficult to know whether someone's gone through hidden. So far as we know, Greta Weitz is well in front. O'Connor of New Zealand in second place. And judging by the Jamaica road shots, F10 Paula Fudge and F5 Anne Ford could well be third and fourth. I've got a third girl going through, actually, and it's F9.
Kirsty Jacobsen from Denmark, the 30-year-old, fifth in the 84 marathon. Anne Ford and Paula Fudge together.
That's a close race indeed, isn't it? Because there are three girls there really battling it out for third place.
But actually, David, there's one missing, and that's Veronique Marot, the one we were looking to set a new British record. Doesn't say she's not there because we're having real difficulty in isolating them when they run surrounded by men. But the Paula Fudge and Anne Ford the leading Britons and doing extremely well. And this is the kind of running that one expects from these two. And I think they'll even get better at the marathon. They've been good track runners, they've been good cross-country runners, and now they're settling down and enjoying the marathon. And both of them are capable of revising that British record, which has been moved on recently.
That's Jacobsen from Denmark wearing F9.
We believe those are the leaders in the women's marathon. But of course there is the question mark about Veronique Mara. Those are the mile times, and Greta, the leader, is still very much on course for a personal best, although she may not threaten Ingrid Christensen's world best and the London Marathon record last year of 2:21.06. Well, there's a young man called Nigel Flynn, who we saw sprint past the finish in one of the mini marathon races, and we can hear now from him at Westminster Bridge.
Nigel Flynn, well done indeed to win that senior boys race. How did you find it?
It was hard all the way. It's good opposition, particularly last mile. I was really struggling to hold on, but I did it. So,
what about the crowd? Did it help you?
Yeah, it was very good, particularly around the finish. You know, everyone starts to get tired, and it's really good having them cheering you on. Yeah.
Where are you from?
Harrow, Pinner.
And your school?
No, Harrow Wheel, Sixth Form College.
Ambitions in track and field?
Too early to tell. I'd like to make it, you know, to the top, but just got to wait and see. It's really too early.
What's your event on the track?
1,500 and 3,000 metres mainly.
Today, a big boost in your career?
Yeah. The time was miles quicker than I expected. Although I was hoping to win it, obviously. So, yeah, I'm very pleased with it. It's good.
What about next year? The full marathon next year? You're old enough, aren't you?
Yeah, no chance. I couldn't do a 26-mile road race. A lot harder.
How are they going to find it then in the last 3 or 4 miles of the main marathon then? They're going to find it tough, are they? Is there a wind?
Very tough. Yeah, there is a wind. It was against us most of the way, really. But they're coming in that way, so they should be all right, really. It'll be on their side.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Day for him to remember. Well, we've seen the leaders through... well, they're beyond the 14 miles mark now, and the main pack going over Tower Bridge just beyond 12 miles, but way back at Cutty Sark, this is the 6 1/4 mile mark, or approximately, and still they go through. These the fun runners and the fancy dress competitors. Meanwhile ahead, bigger stream passing an impromptu street party at Jamaica Road, and they'll be pleased to see Tower Bridge about half a mile further on.
You're nearly there. I wish he thought so. I hope he sees that sign. We've seen Mahatma Gandhi go through, and we've seen Superman go through, and we've seen 1 or 2 walkers who walked this distance very well indeed, and will be ahead of some of the runners at the finish too.
Incidentally, some good news. We do hear, by the way, the weather is clearing rapidly, and our helicopters should be flying. In fact, I believe may well be flying at this moment, will make all the difference to our coverage. And in fact, the helicopter is in the air now, and we've got our first shots. Now, this makes a big difference from our coverage point of view. I have explained before, again, forgive me if it's irritating those who've been watching all the time. The situation has been that the helicopter, the BBC helicopter, could not fly because of the cloud ceiling was so low. It's got to fly at 1,000 feet, and from there it reflects pictures from that tracking camera we've got on the alongside the lead runner, who is Seiko, by the way, of Japan, who's now broken away from Steve Anders. And we're getting 2 helicopters up there, one to get pictures from the lead motorcycles there, the tracking shot alongside the leader, and of course the other one can then cover the race in general. That's what we've been missing for so much of the race so far, but as you can see from the quality of the shots, the weather is changing rapidly.
And the red brick road tells you we're in the London Enterprise Zone in the Docklands, a brand new road, and industry growing up all around it. Seiko, a discipline of Zen training, who lost his coach last year, one of the great coaches of marathon, the father of marathon running in Japan, Kiyoshi Nakamura, who died in a fishing accident, but was the man that transformed this fairly modest athlete who went to an American university and thought he was going to do things and his athletic career began to get away from him. And then the coach, Nakamura, went out there and said, come back, accept the discipline of training, and you could be one of the world's greatest marathon runners. And this is exactly what he did. And he really is recognized as one of the great disciplined men of running. He once ran 57 miles non-stop in a training run to assure himself that that the training was going well. And he's broken away from a world-class field here by considerable marching. And he was perhaps always the favorite, Brendan, but certainly he's looking a transformed athlete, is he not?
He was very disappointing in the Los Angeles Olympics. Most of the athletes were nervous about him because he'd had a string of victories and he hadn't been beaten for about 5 years, I think. And I was talking to Charlie Spedding yesterday, and I said, if you were running today, who would you be worried about? And he just said straight away Seiko, and he didn't mention another name. So, I mean, this athlete has, you know, he's got something about him. But this isn't his normal style. He normally waits and waits and waits, and there's no one good enough for him to wait on. I mean, I've seen him run and sit on athletes and kick with 60 meters to go in a marathon. So for him to press out and lead, it's an unusual style. So let's see what he's like on his own. We've never seen him like this before.
Indeed, Brendan. He is recognized as having a kick, which is rare in marathon runners, as Brendan was saying, but he really can sprint at the end of it. He trains himself to do that. 17 miles. Now, Jerry O'Rourke is there, and I think that's Mike Bishop with him. If we can see the number, if he's wearing 7, it's Mike Bishop that's taken the lead, and Mike Bishop is the fastest Englishman in the race. And these two guys locked together. They've dropped Chris Hallam of Wales, Jerry O'Rourke from Dublin, Mike Bishop from Churchtow in Gloucester. 2 hours 25:31. He's ahead of that schedule now, and these two guys together taking it in turns. Look at this, slipstreaming.
Blue suede shoes, blue suede shoes, blue suede shoes, blue suede shoes. You do the thing for my blue suede shoes. I said, blue suede shoes, blue suede. Hold on, madam, you do great.
Vangelis' Chariots of Fire. Back to blue suede shoes.
Well, come on over, baby, a whole lot of shaking going on. Come on over, baby, grab that bull by the horn. Yeah! Ain't a lot of shaking, a whole lot of shaking going on. I said, come on over, baby, we got clutch cash. Is that clutch? Come on over, baby, grab that bone by the horn. Yeah! Ain't nobody shaking, a whole lot of shaking going on. I said, shake, baby, shake. Shake, baby, shake. Woo! Shake, baby, shake. Shake, baby, shake. Woo! Shake. Oh, yeah, he's got a smile on his face, come on. I said, run, baby, run. Run, baby, run. Run. Oh, ducky. Run, baby, run. Look at that. It's a parrot. Oh, well. Run, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Here's our man in third place, Chris Hallam, winner last year after a great battle with Jerry O'Rourke. He won after a battle over Westminster Bridge. He's struggling at the moment, and he's in trouble. 23, this lad, sufferer, a paraplegic from Gwent. And he's a good all-round athlete and swimmer with 6 British records to his credit. And he held the world record as a breaststroke swimmer for some considerable time. And I talked to him last night, and he was looking forward to this battle. And it looks as though the machinery may have let him down, or it may be his own strapping.
These are the athletes at Tower Bridge, approaching halfway, and we've news of Greta Weitz's time at halfway, 72.04. So she's inside a personal best time at the moment. Incidentally, we've had a flash from along the course about Veronique Marot, the fastest Briton ever in the ladies' race. We were a bit puzzled we couldn't see her. Apparently, there's a report that she had stomach trouble last night, and we don't know whether she started.
XX57 is the oldest competitor in the race, and that's Pat Riley, who assures us he's 82. As for occupation, he reckons he's retired, except for marathon running, and he really is some character to talk to. Very sprightly former sprinter, and he's going to tot around here and have a chat on the way. And if I'm feeling or looking that good at 82, I should be delighted. Pat Riley from Woolwich. So Pat Riley will know these streets well as he dodges around the Cuddy Sark. Estimates he'll be back in 5 hours.
That never sleeps. And finally, #1. Top of the heap. Let's get kicking the next fellas, come on. This little town.
Oh, Archie. Just about to join in. Not the beefeater, this fella.
I'll make a brand new start of it. New York, New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you.
Actually, the record number of finishers in a marathon, 15,881, last year's New York race. London, by the way, well, the record number of finishers was topped last year, 15,841 from 17,500 starters. But of course, it should be higher than that today.
Top of the hill, king of the run, king of the street.
I think this is Terje Roll. If he's wearing 4, it's the Norwegian. Very good Norwegian who has competed in marathons before, has a best time of 2 hours 14. That's what makes me think that it's number 4. Yes, it is. That's Roel of Norway.
We should be able to join the leaders, by the way, on the helicopter shot and also the tracking shot with the motorbike very shortly. And we still understand Steve Anders is in the race, although he's a pacemaker, but Seiko is leading. Steve Anders on our last flash was in 2nd place, and we're told Hugh Jones is 3rd. There's the lead car, approaching the 17-mile mark. Island Gardens on the Isle of Dog. And it's Seiko, the favourite from Japan. It's 29. Very, very experienced marathon runner. He says, running is my only girlfriend. World record holder on the track at 25 and 30 kilometres.
And a recent race over 30 kilometres suggested that he's in spanking form. He just missed that world record by 3 seconds, so there's no doubt about it that Seiko reckons he's ready for this. And this event, of course, the marathon, fits the Japanese mentality perfectly. Bit of a samurai warrior on the course there, I think.
Some news from the front of the race is that we understand that Steve Anders, who was chasing and helping Seiko in many ways over the first half of the race, has now dropped out, and Hugh Jones has moved into second place, but there's no confirmation of that yet.
I think I just saw John Holt go through picture, the secretary of the International Amateur Athletic Federation, self-performed international half-miler. I'm pretty certain that was John Holt that just shot through. Carla Ali, our oldest woman, very experienced. This is the lady that trains at 4 o'clock in the morning. She says it's less crowded at that time. She'll be helped on her way as well. Another great spirited character, Carla Ali. This is Yutaka Kanai, Japan, the 26-year-old, much taller than Seiko. He's 5'10", this fellow. 7th in the Olympic Games, 10,000 meters. And both these Japanese marathon runners are excellent track runners at 10,000 meters and 5,000 meters.
So that shot suggests that he's in third place. So it's Japan 1 and 3, with Hugh Jones of Great Britain in second place. Seiko leads. Hugh Jones, we believe, in second place. Kanhai is third. And I think at the back of the shot there on the Isle of Dogs, I saw Alistair Hutton, who was third last year, and there he is, number 2, going quite well alongside the Turk, who's Terzi. Terzi, a 2:12 man, just inside 2:13, 2:12.54, 16th in the Olympic marathon, and he's running a very quick race today.
I think Terzi was a winner of the Frankfurt Marathon, and that's the sort of form that he's in, and Alistair Hutton running with a good man. Kevin Forster there.
The leader still out on the Isle of Dogs. Comes off that little loop and then turns back towards the tower, goes through St Catherine's Dock, Wapping High Street, St Catherine's Dock, then past Traders Gate and the Tower of London, then along the embankment, the Mall, and the finish at the top of Birdcage Walk over Westminster Bridge. It's very, very wet out there, by the way, but Seiko looking very, very strong. A lot of water lying on the road in the Isle of Dogs. I was around the course the other day, and there was certainly a lot of puddles, but it's not going to bother these top runners too much. And incidentally, the other athletes, I saw a name out there I'd never spotted on the London Marathon course before, and he's just approaching it now. I think we're on the wrong side of the road actually to see it, but that's unimportant. It's a lovely name for the poor people down the field. Sufferance Wharf, and that's after 18 miles.
Just an indication of this man's form. When he won the 1983 Fukuoka Marathon, which is one of the great marathons in the world. He ran that in 2:08.38, the third fastest time in history at that time. But in that field, he beat Salazar, Ikanga, Chiapinski, and the So twins, and that's why he's the most feared man in the field today.
Well, Ronnie's only lost one marathon, that was the Olympics, since 1979. So, I mean, I was explaining earlier that the boys have a sort of reverence for him because he was expected to do very, very well in the Olympic Games. But looking back to second place, we saw a shot a little bit earlier of Hugh Jones. Seiko looks really good, and the world record is certainly still within his grasp if he can continue this pace and increase it. But I don't think the race is over, because the race is... he's still got to go through the 22 miles and the 20-mile mark, and I think we've never seen him extend himself to this extent. We've never seen him on his own for so long, and just out of sight, just round that corner, Hugh Jones must be, because I didn't think he was that far back. Maybe my comments were slightly premature.
In fact, it's very difficult to judge distance on these tracking shots, but our information was, and it was flashback from the course, was that Seiko was 100 metres in front of Hugh Jones. But certainly at this stage, judging by that shot and knowing that stretch of the road fairly well, he looks to be further behind than that.
And I've got to say, this part of the course looks downhill, the sort of speed that Terje Roel is drumming up on his wheelchair alongside him. That's the only company he's got. And as Brendan was saying, his stoicism will be tested here. He rarely runs way out in front, but he does come from this school, this discipline of Zen training. That was what his coach Nakamura was famous for. There are about 90 athletes, most of them Japanese, and Hugh Jones has been out there to visit that school, and they really do discipline themselves tremendously. It's not just Zen, it's a mixture of Buddhism, Christianity and Zen. But it just tells these fellas that running is not only physical, it is mental as well.
And it is a great mental test, the marathon. And we're just looking to see if Hugh Jones had come into shot. He hadn't there, so I think he's more than 100 metres behind. Hugh Jones, who won this race in 1982. And indeed, the British have dominated it since the first London Marathon in 1981. That was a tie between Dick Beardsley, United States, and Simonson. Then Hugh Jones here won the second running. Mike Grattan won in 83, Charlie Spedding in 84. And of course, Steve Jones set the record last year, 2 hours, 8 minutes, 16 seconds. Hugh's working very, very hard indeed. And he'll be well pleased with this run because the aim for him is a place in the European Championships team, of which Steve Jones has already been selected. Incidentally, if you're a bit puzzled and you've just joined us about the wheelchairs, they started some 15 minutes before the main race.
Hugh Jones there, wearing his Ranelagh vest. Liverpool based for some time, where he was at Liverpool University studying architecture. Then he went to Budapest to do town planning. He's now settled down in Kentish Town, or Camden Town. He's moving in there with his wife. And he's a great character as well, Brendan. Hugh, this lad who used to do walkabouts for about 6 months on end and go into the desert and go to Kathmandu. And then it found that it was affecting his running, and he did find at the London Marathon that here he had the potential to be a world-class marathon runner, and has come back and has rather changed his attitude and is now a much more disciplined athlete than he was.
Well, except that he's just come back from China, Ron. His coach, Alan Storey, who's a coach of Mike McLeod and the distant marathon coach in Britain, who's done a remarkable job out there in China with those athletes, because obviously he's got a lot to choose from. But Hugh went out and trained under him. He ran a marathon out there in 2:10, which is his first marathon since the Olympics, and he'd run well there. So he's come here with some good form behind him, and they were expecting him to do well.
Just fascinating experiments we're conducting here by remote control, trying to see how far Hugh Jones is behind the leader. That's the helicopter shot, so we've missed so much this morning, but thank goodness the cloud ceiling has lifted, and it's quite a long way. Actually, a good shot there, because you don't realise how this course twists and turns through the docks. Runners on the outward journey, they are some 2 to 3 miles at least behind the leader.
The Red Brick Road in the Isle of Dogs, and they'll just get a shot of Seiko, and that is some gap. It looked to be 300 meters or more, and no sign of flagging at the moment.
I think the question is really, can he survive? Because we didn't think here that he was quite that far ahead. So now it's up to him. The race is between him and the road and the distance and his own measure of fitness and his own mind, because he's far enough clear to win the race, but he's running at a much faster pace than he's ever run before. He's running close to as fast as anyone's ever run before. The course record, his own, well, not his own Japanese record, but the Japanese record is in sight, and the world record's got to be in sight if he can continue to run on his own and apply himself, as some of your suggestions earlier on about his mental discipline have suggested he might.
Well, as David's already suggested, he said the marathon is my lover, and he follows the samurai code of it's hide your hone, hide your real intentions, but be constantly on the alert and look for the instant your enemy's guard is down. Well, he's got no enemy in sight at the moment, but he's hiding any pain that he might have, and he really is looking a formidable runner on this course. Toshihima Seiko really running away at the moment, 29 years of age, 5'6", from Yokohachi City, and really is looking quite superb.
Just slowed very slightly to just over 5 minutes. I think that's the first mile he's run outside 5 minutes, between 17 and 18, 5:01. But of course that's the difficult period of the race now, when you're still very much aware of the pace you've been running at, but more importantly, how far you've got to go. Hugh Jones in second place, coached by Alan Storey. This is 16th marathon. His first was run back in 78 when he won the Duchy of Cornwall race in 2 hours 25 minutes 13 seconds. But of course he's improved an awful lot since then. He also won the 3As at Rugby in 1981. He was first in Oslo, also in 81. He won the London Marathon in 82. He was first in Stockholm a year later. He's had these injury problems. And Brendan, he's not the most graceful runner, is he? But he's very strong.
He is very strong. If you just looked at his face, you'd say he was struggling. But I remember when he won the London Marathon, he came down the mile and he was absolutely flying. But he still looked, just looking at his face, that he was struggling. So I say he's running strong. He came out of the pack, he's chased, he followed his own pace, he didn't go with that early pace set by Anders, and I think he's running well, and I think he's gonna this is going to be one of his fastest times ever, if not his own fastest time ever. And really, you know, if he just stays there in second place, he's done enough, because he's here to qualify for the European Championships. And all right, Seiko's here, and he looks as though he's going to win this race. There we see Seiko again, but Jones has run really well, and it's great to see him back, because with Spedding already selected and Steve Jones already selected, he's our next best, if not as good as, marathon runner. There's the leading woman, Greta. She's running around 2:24 pace, which is her personal best. And if you think of her career, she's had a remarkable career at the marathon, and you know, here she is almost at the end of that career and running personal best times. And I think she's been spurred on for her personal best today by what's likely to happen in Boston tomorrow, because her countrymate and great rival Ingrid Christensen is running in Boston tomorrow, and they say she's going to run under 2:20. That's the race for women. It's like the 4-minute mile for men, and Greta knows that. She knows that Ingrid is in great shape, so Greta's going to come today and not go away without making some headlines.
Greta White's, of course, one of the highest paid women athletes in the world, £100,000 a year. She and Mary Decker and Zola Budd, three of the highest paid women athletes.
Changing the guard at Buckingham Palace. And so exact is this timing, by the way. I think this may well be the St James's Palace contingent on their way to take up the guard positions. And it's time to a matter of minutes, actually, to coincide or to miss the arrival. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is for the athletes to arrive through Admiralty Arch as the guard is marching back along the Mall. But it's very, very tightly timed. And we're told there'll be a 4-minute gap between the St James's Palace contingent taking up their positions, having marched along the Mall, and the lead runner coming through Admiralty Arch. And that runner looks certain to be Seiko, although the news is that he's slowing slightly. 17 to 18 miles, he was over 5 minutes for the first time, 5:01. And then 18 to 19 miles at 5:04. But at the moment, he's still on schedule for a new course record and one of the fastest times in history, because if he can keep going now in the closing stages, he can still break 2 hours 8 minutes.
Those are some interesting signs, though, because when you start slipping over 5 minutes after you've been running 4:50, it's not because you choose to, it's because your body makes you. And I was asking the question about seeing him exposed on his own at the front and see him apply himself on his own, because he prefers to run in a group. So those are interesting questions. And when we look back to Hugh Jones, he's running strongly, he's running well. So that we've got a race on here. It's not just a one-man race.
Some fascinating news, though, now of a change in pace at the top. Chris Brasher, who's in that lead timing car, the race director, we're through to him on a radio link, and Chris has just been telling Stan Greenboard, our statistician, that the lead car apparently was giving Seiko some trouble. He was having to slow between 17 and 19 miles, but in fact they've sorted that out, and he's now speeded up again. From 19 to 20 miles, he ran 4:47, which is quite an astounding mile time at that stage.
And they're looking at the times. He's a minute ahead of Steve Jones's record. He's a minute ahead of Steve Jones's record, which was 2:08 last year. So he is still on world record pace. But you know, the 5:01 mile, we've got to ask the question: if the reason was that he had the car in the way, then fine. But I mean, I still think we've got something of a race. It's not just a one-man thing.
Yeah, you raised the question, Brendan, and the question marks must occur at this time. And of course, one of the reasons he ran badly in Los Angeles was that he had hepatitis, and that's a very debilitating disease to suffer from, and it takes months to clear. Having said that, Hugh Jones, of course, had injuries in '82, and he was operated on by Viren's doctor then on his leg, and so they've all suffered because this is a brutal training schedule. 120 miles a week these two fellas do. They've upped it from the 100, and so the sort of battering that their knees and ankles, just as acting as shock absorbers for 20,000-30,000 strides, is bound to have a wear and tear effect, and it always does. But to suffer a debilitating disease like hepatitis also had its effect on this Ironman, Seiko.
These athletes at the tower, and shortly, by the way, Seiko will be going underneath the tower and through past Traitor's Gate, some 6 to 7 miles ahead of that group.
I don't know how they got up there, but that's a fabulous view. That's the view at the finish.
There's a good shot there. It may puzzle some non-athletes that those finishing funnels. Brendan Foster's an expert on these. In fact, they're so beautifully organised. They're channeled in there, aren't they, Brendan? And that's how their positions are counted. And they're very, very accurate.
They have to be, but that's almost become a science on its own. And Paul Canson, who's one of the best finish directors in the world, organises this finish, and in the Great North Run that we organise up in the northeast of England, where we have 25,000 runners. John Trainer does the same thing. They compare notes every year to see how the thing works. But Paul Canson quoted in the official programme saying, running the finish is harder than running the race. I think he's right, actually. But the pressure's not on yet. They're just having a relax, and they're probably interested in the race, interested in who's leading, and interested in how long they're going to come, how long they're going to take to be here. Well, we saw there the number of entrants that were accepted for the London Marathon, and then we saw the number of finishers in the London Marathon. This year, we think there are around 19,000 who actually started, and I'm sure that prediction of around 17,000 is going to be accurate, because I'm sure they're going to set a record this time. And we're looking at Seiko. The weather's improving as he's going through here. His pace is increasing, so we may be seeing 2 sets of records.
Seiko in the area of Wapping High Street and approaching picturesque scene in St Catherine's Dock. Chris Hallam there, I think he was in 3rd place in the wheelchair race, where Ron Pickett's been following that. He had a few problems.
I think actually he was back to 4th, but he appears to be back in the race now, and that's good news. Chris Hallam wearing 1 in the wheelchair race. Now, see if we can get some indication of whether that gap has closed, whether Hugh Jones has managed to erode down what was something like 300 metres that Seiko had on him. Going past, I think that's Gun Wharf, is it? Just past there.
Seiko faithfully following the timing equipment and the tracking camera we've got down there. Actually, it's rather puzzling to us what's happening behind him there. It looks as if there's another runner there, but it surely can't be. Oh, it's one of the wheelchairs.
Yes, it's Chris Hallam. It's behind him. But these cobblestones, the cobblestones that were a problem as they go through the tower, well, they've been covered as well. They've been working all night to get some impacted earth down so that it's not too tough on them. But there's a few cobblestones here they've got to get through. Look at the massive redevelopment and regeneration that's going on in London's Docklands. It really is quite remarkable. New buildings, and John Disley said how much he's had to change the course as new roads have been created and new buildings have been put up. They've had to divert, but my word, they go to some immense degree to make sure that it's absolutely accurate and that this marathon shall be a couple of metres over the 26 miles, 385 yards, so that all these good performances can be put forward and recognised as world best times if they should be there.
Seiko now approaching St Catherine's Dock. There are cobbles here, and by the way, John Disley was saying that they wouldn't be able to lay the special carpet for the leading runners over the cobbles in the Tower of London if it was raining. So it's been pretty heavy rain in the early stages of this morning, so they may well have had to leave those cobbles. Now, you may remember last year this was where the lead changed hands slightly, with Charlie Spedding getting away from Steve Jones, but then Steve came back along the embankment to win the race. This is around 22 miles. That's the scene. St Catherine's Dock. And they go over a very picturesque Dutch bridge.
And that's the first of the docks to be rebuilt and regenerated. It really is a beautiful scene. It's got an ambience all of its own. And following that will be the East India Docks, the West India Docks, and the railways are going in, the store port is going in. This is St Catherine Dock, the first of the London docks to be rebuilt. Crossing private roads here, incidentally, permission has to be granted. There's the Dutch bridge.
By the Tower Hotel. And it's a very positive run by the Japanese. He came here as the favourite, and he's run like a winner right from the start. He's really taken the race by the scruff of the neck. Once Steve Anders dropped out, Seiko has really dominated.
The interesting thing about these cobblestones is that they're slippery rather than hard on the feet. They really are quite slippery. And although it creates a pleasant walkway in the rain, it's fairly treacherous. And you can see it's just a little bumpy through there. There's a marvellous view of the tower.
The lonely figure of the leader. And meanwhile, overhead, hundreds and hundreds still streaming over the bridge, over Tower Bridge, some 7 to 8 miles behind.
There we see Seiko. I think he's feeling some effect now. He's glancing over his shoulder. He didn't need to because there's no one in sight. But he's never been in this position in the race. He's really spent his career running in very competitive races in Boston and Fukuoka and elsewhere, and he's never found himself having a lead for this far. So he's in new ground for himself. I think he's concentrating on the finish, how far he's got to go to the finish, and I think he's slowing there. He doesn't look as fresh, and he's certainly, his concentration, that was the first lapse of concentration we've seen from him when he looked over his shoulder. And there's Hugh Jones in second place, and he's not that far behind. I don't think he's as far behind now as he was at some point in the race.
He looks a workhorse, doesn't he, Hugh? He really is grinding it out and gritting his teeth. Tough guy. But Seiko, of course, has been moulded by 1,000 years of ideology and philosophy, and the Japanese have a passion for this. And Chris Hallam back in that wheelchair race, and he's You saw where he was in relation to Seiko, and now he's dropped back a bit, and Hugh Jones is about to overtake Chris Hallam. Hugh Jones.
Alistair Hutton there, together with Kanhai of Japan, and also it looks like Titsai, number 73 of Turkey. And this is the race for third place. And they won't want this to happen for too long, because the last thing a marathon runner wants at the end of a hard race like this is a real sprint finish. Alistair Hutton is going to present the selectors with a problem. Hugh Jones looks as if he's on the way to a second place and a place in the European Championships. As we were saying earlier, Alistair Hutton is a little bit peeved, and probably rightly so, that he's not been selected as of right by the Scottish Commonwealth Games selectors. Charlie Spedding has for the Commonwealth Games for England. Steve Jones has for the European Championship. But Alistair Hutton has said, I believe, that if the choice is his, he'll go for 10,000 metres in the Commonwealth Games and concentrate on the marathon in the European Championships, which would be a blow, let's face it, to Scotland.
It would be a miss to Scotland up in Edinburgh, the Commonwealth Games this year, and I think Alistair would be in with a real chance of doing well in that event. But I think it's a wise choice from his point of view, because to run the 10,000 in the Commonwealth Games would be a good build-up for the European Marathon. I think Alistair's good enough to really dictate to the Scottish selectors what he wants to do. Unfortunately, they're not giving him that choice, and so we may see him in the 10,000 metres. And I don't think these days he's as good at 10,000 metres as he is at the marathon.
Still Hutton, Tetsai and Kanhai together, and as they go through, we may be able to pick up the race for the places in the first 10. So there's 3, 4 and 5, and the sixth man should be in sight.
Japan with 2 men in the first 5. Interesting history which dates back to the 36 Olympic Games, when Kitty Son won it, and Kitty Son turned out to be a Korean, but it did give the Japanese an event to identify with. Kevin Forster there, wearing 10, but I think there's a small group in front of them. But Kevin Forster running well.
And the leader now, clear of the Tower of London and approaching the embankment. Seiko of Japan, the 22 miles time, 1:47.40, and he's slowed quite dramatically then with a 5 minutes 16-second mile. He looks to be going quite powerfully, but in fact he is slowing. And those are the various mile splits for the leader. And incidentally, he's some 92 seconds, we're told, ahead of Hugh Jones in second place, who went through 22 miles in 1:49.12.
There we can see a strain on his face. That's the first kind of pressure we've seen from Seiko, and we sensed through the tower area that he was slowing, but there's the evidence that he's not only slowing, but he's finding this really hard, and he's struggling. And he's out there for a personal best time. He's out there for a Japanese record, and these landmarks are slipping out of sight. 2:8.15 is the Japanese record. He's desperate to prove himself as being the #1 Japanese runner. He's signaling with his hand there. I'm sure he's asking for a drink. He's waved 4 or 5 times, and I'm sure he's not the type to celebrate his victory. I'm sensing that he wants some help. So Hugh Jones about a minute and a half behind. That's possibly the closest he's been in the last few miles, but Hugh looking just the same as he's looked for the last 5 or 6 or even 10 miles. That grimace is a grimace of it's not as bad as it looks, actually. I think Hugh always looks like that, frankly.
Actually, he'd probably look a lot better if he could see the sort of problems Seiko's having up front.
Absolutely. He wants one long road where he can see the back of the Japanese. And this really is a serious business for the Japanese. Cast your minds back to 1964, when Tsuburaya was second in the Tokyo arena in that marathon, was overtaken by Basil Heatley of Coventry, and because he was overtaken, he never recovered, and he committed a ritual harikari suicide as a result of that. This is a very, very important event. He rarely shows strain, and this man is now showing agony. It's not just strain, he is really under the cosh, and he's got problems. Seiko in real trouble. It looked as though the cobblestones had a dramatic effect, and if Hugh Jones can get one look at the back of that man and one long straight and realise that he is suffering badly, and certainly if he could see that face, it would give Hugh a lift to know that this race is not yet over.
It just shows you, though, in the marathon, it's not how you look and how you feel at 10 miles and 15 miles that matters. It's how you feel from 20 miles to the finish that matters. And we've seen him struggling here in the last couple of miles. This race certainly isn't over, even though that's an enormous gap, because once you've gone, you've gone, and you go, and you can see the pressure on his face. We can see that his legs aren't as bouncy as they were before. Nobody's legs are as bouncy as they were earlier in the race, but this is interesting. It's exciting. This is his chance to establish himself as the #1 in Japan, so this time still really means an awful lot to him. The course record, there's incentives for the course record, and you can see the course record, he's slipping away from it. He's 7 seconds ahead of last year's Steve Jones time, and in previous miles he's been minutes ahead. So
interesting too, Brendan, that the most recent test he's had as to his own racing ability was over 30 kilometers and not over the 42 kilometers of a marathon distance. And he's into that area now, and Hugh Jones might just be sensing it, and he's swinging along. He's still got a lot of drive in his arms and a lot of knee lift in his legs. He's grimacing okay because it's hurting out there, but conditions have improved, and if he gets that lovely long shot of Seiko, then although there is an enormous gap, it's one which is still manageable. This is the gap that we're trying to see. Hugh Jones looking for the back of Toshihiko Seiko. It's a long, long way, but that's the time he can see it. And this could still turn into a race.
Hugh driving hard, but he too looks very tired. And it's not surprising because the early pace was very, very fast. But they're both suffering. And of course, this is a very testing mental part of the race, because coming along the embankment there, in the far distance, you can actually see Big Ben, which of course is just before the finish, but there's a loop to run round, which takes them on a longer route to complete the 26 miles, 385 yards. So mentally, it's a very testing period, because they're turning away very shortly from the finish.
I agree with that, because that really is psychologically tough, because you see the finish there. You can see if he looks to his left, he can see the finish, but he's actually got to turn right, go away from the finish, and then swing right round. And amazingly, 2 or 3 of the people who've won this race have commented about how difficult that is, how mentally difficult it is, because there you can see the Houses of Parliament down ahead, and the finish is to the left there. So Seiko's still got quite a few miles to run, and Jones is, as we've seen now, is suffering a little. But behind Jones, there's an interesting race going on, Alistair Hutton, and there's also an interesting race for places in the English Commonwealth Games team.
And one wonders how their race plan has gone. Seiko clearly went out for a very fast time, and that may be partially affecting the way that he's running now, although he's still full of running. And Hugh Jones may have paced himself on the sort of pace he is at the moment, and it may not quite have affected him, although, of course, both are looking very tired and worn, as well they should, because the discipline and the sheer distance of this race is very tough indeed.
You couldn't have a better picture there than the illustration of the pain of marathon running. At the very top level, it hurts. And I've always felt, Brendan, at the very top level too, these boys have only got so many fast ones.
I would support that entirely. it seems to be there's a career which lasts maybe 4, 5 or 6 marathons. Once they've lost it, they very rarely recapture it. Alberto Salazar is a good example of that. He held the world's best time for quite a while, and once it's gone, it's gone. And it seems to me that, you know, a career should be planned a long time in advance in terms of how many marathons a year you're going to run. And if they run too many, which some of the Americans have been doing recently, then their performances suffer drastically. But this is his first race since the Olympic Games, where he was so disappointed with that 14th place, where everyone in Japan was expecting him to win. A lot of observers worldwide were expecting him to feature. Carlos Lopez won it, John Tracy was second, and our own Charlie Spedding was third. And all three of them were asking as soon as they crossed the line, where's Seiko? Because he had this little bit of mystique about him.
And I think it was fairly clear from that shot that Chris Hallam was the leader in the wheelchair race. Gary O'Rourke, I beg his pardon, in the green of Dublin. Interesting background on this man, because 8 years ago he went to the University of Southern California, having failed to get into Tokyo University, and he put on a lot of weight, and was running pretty badly when he met with the coach Nakamura, who suggested that he was letting down Japan and letting down their image of distance running. And it was then that he returned to Japan and went to Tokyo University and accepted the discipline that this event demands. Tremendous hero in Japan, of course. Seiko, as are all their good marathon runners. The So twins and the man in 5th place, Kanai.
Seiko just turning out of Northumberland Avenue, and he's got within his sights now the famous Admiralty Arch. He's the leader in the men's race, and meanwhile back at the tower we should be able to see Greta Feitz shortly, who's the leading lady. And so Seiko faces up to the wide open spaces of the mile. He's got just over a mile to go. Although he must be feeling very tired indeed, and clearly is, he can hardly feel threatened. It's noticeable, in fact, he hasn't been looking back at all, so he must have some information about how the race is going. But he's not, although he's been in pain, he's not seemed very anxious about where Hugh Jones is. So he must be getting race information.
He may well be, because he only looked round once, and I thought that was the beginning of this, just passed through the 40-kilometre mark, 2 hours, 2 minutes. So he's got 2.1 kilometres to go. He's still on for that good record time, though. It depends what happens here in the last 2 kilometres. But he's fairly well clear of Steve Jones, and I think of Hugh Jones, and he looked around, he didn't see anybody. That probably gave him a mental boost. The only person he can see, and he's looking there now, the only thing he can see is the leading wheelchair athlete.
I would suggest he's not very bothered now about the second athlete. He's more bothered, rather, he's not very bothered about the time anymore. He's more bothered about the second athlete. And a measure of his tiredness was the way he wandered across the road, actually, when he looked back. Anybody who's ever run any distance at all will know that feeling well, because you can't hold a straight line. The legs have been pounding, the rhythm goes as you look back, and he's got now, what, a mile, just under a mile and a quarter. We may be able to look back along the mile to Admiralty Arch and see if Hugh Jones is closing. And he is in sight now. There's no doubt in this closing couple of miles, Hugh Jones has been closing the gap all the time. But it looks too great for him to actually catch the Japanese. Seiko now with Buckingham Palace in sight. And really, that has been a dramatic change. Hugh Jones is fairly storming along now. He can see Seiko. He's trying to attack, but I must reckon on that shot he must be some, still 80 to 100 metres behind. But really, when an athlete is tiring in the way Seiko is, it's amazing how much you can close in the last mile. And Hugh Jones now has the encouragement of seeing that the leader is tiring and knowing, actually, that he's feeling strong himself.
And this is the first sight, I would say, he's had of Seiko since they took off, since they started. The point being here, it's about Seiko slowing down, definitely. We don't know how much it is that Hugh Jones is picking up and speeding up, but Seiko is suffering badly and he's slowing badly. And I mean, there we can see it. And there's the sight. This is the point in the race that all the athletes in Britain certainly dream about, coming along the mile, leading the London Marathon. And he's turning that corner there at the top of the mile. And if he knows the course, and knowing these guys, they'll have been looking around it, he'll have measured it. He knows how far he's got to go.
I think that lens we had on the ground was a bit deceptive. I think the helicopter shot that showed that it was nearer 200 yards than 100 yards. That's the gap. And although he's closing, that's still a tremendous gap that he's got to close on. And he still looks as though he's got some bounce in his legs. He must sense that Hugh Jones is behind, although he hasn't really spotted him. And Hugh still looks dogged and determined. He's trying to lift himself. He knows he's clear in second. He knows he's running for a fast time, and he'll get selection in that. But whether he's got enough time left or enough energy to close that considerable gap on Seiko is, I think, at this stage doubtful.
Seiko looks at the watch, and that will be telling him the story of how he's fading, in fact, because his last mile was 5:20 odd, so he's slowing down, but we believe he's safe. Seiko, I don't think can see Big Ben there. He's very, very anxious now, though.
Well, he's gone from a 2:7 pace, and I think he's slowed so much in the last 2 or 3 miles that he's going to be lucky to... He's not going to do 2:8, he's going to do 2:9 now. And I mean, when you see he's gone from world record pace and it's all gone in the last couple of miles, it tells you all about this event, and it tells you about how to pace yourself early on. It tells you about being in a position that you've never been in before, because Hugh Jones has been on around a 2:9 pace for most of the way, whereas Seiko's slowed dramatically. And here's the result. You can now see him, and that leading wheelchair athlete has done remarkably well to clock this kind of time run.
Jerry O'Rourke, 2 hours 12, his best time, the 22-year-old from Dublin. And that's the sort of time he wanted, because he had such a battle with Chris Hallam. He knew he had to get away from him. And he's in second place overall at the moment, but of course he's got time to be added on. But Jerry O'Rourke in between the two who are battling it out, and Hugh Jones still pounding along. He really uses a lot of energy to cover the ground that he does. He's got a big arm swing and a big knee lift. And Alastair Hutton appears to be, if that's the, appears to be in third place and has run remarkably well. Getting away from the Turk now. Alastair Hutton of Edinburgh making a big point here in the London Marathon.
And it may well be that Seiko now in these final few yards is getting away again. Hugh Jones has clearly settled for second place. What a marvellous moment this must be. Britons have won the London Marathon for the last 4 years. Dick Beardsley, United States, and Inge Simonsen of Norway, dead heated for first place in the initial running of this great race. Then it was won by Hugh Jones in 82, Mike Grattan in 83, Charlie Spedding in 84, and in 85, we've got the first Japanese winner. Going to be outside 2 hours 9 minutes, but winning now more important than the time. Toshihiko Seiko, the man who started as favourite and has finished as champion. It's 29. Chris Brasher, the race director, jogging in ahead.
For a winner of the London Marathon
And Seiko, though tired as he approaches Westminster Bridge, is still quite strong. Being directed to the right finishing funnel. And Seiko wins for Japan the 1986 London Marathon. A really powerful piece of running. Positive. He's had to work hard since he took over in front, because for the last, 10, 11 miles, he's been by himself. In a moment, Hugh Jones, the 1982 winner, will be coming in second place. Hugh Jones chasing the man who may well be the winner of the wheelchair race.
Jerry O'Rourke, and they're having quite a little battle, and Hugh's picking himself up again. He dropped back, he was really struggling. He checked to see that his second place was not in any danger, and look at this for a finish. It's a spirited finish from Hugh Jones. He really is pouring it on now, and he's got his battle with Jerry O'Rourke, and his place certain for the European Championships, and good to see him back and based in this country and running so well. It was a big gap at the end of the day. Seiko will be there to greet him, I'm sure, but Hugh Jones running quite magnificently.
And this has proved to be a really hard race, because Hugh is going to be some 2 minutes behind his winning time in 1982. O'Rourke coming in to win the wheelchair race. But I think, actually, Brendan Foster, this is the penalty for the very fast early pace.
I think it has to be, because I'm sure Seiko, if he'd been a bit more conservative early on, could have run faster than he did at 2:10. And I'm surprised that you could run 2:11.40 to finish second in the London Marathon this year, because I'm sure that everyone was thinking one would have to run faster than that. I'm sure Hugh thought he'd have to run faster than 2:11. And there I'm pleased to see Alistair Hutton in third place. He's done it right. He didn't really go to win this race. He came here to qualify for the European Championships. He came here to show the Scottish selectors a point, because they're going to pick their team for the Commonwealth Games tomorrow. And if they pick him for the marathon, he'll say, no, thank you very much. You're going to have to pick me for the 10,000, otherwise I'm not available. And it's not arrogance. It's just that I think he knows more about marathon running than those Scottish selectors do.
Well, that's anticipating perhaps that Alistair Hutton will not change his mind. But this is a fine piece of running, and he finishes in third place, as he did 12 months ago.
And he looks the best of the finishers, doesn't he? He looks as though he's paced himself with another marathon in mind this year. And that is an important point, because if he's running in the British best for us in the European Championships, he saved a little bit today, and he could be a threat in that race. Alistair Hutton running superbly. Kanai of Japan, the next Japanese home. And if he finishes in fourth, two Japanese in the first four runners, and that's a jump to Pat Peterson of America that's got through, and maybe he's ahead of the Japanese as well. That's Pat Peterson, who came here with a tremendous reputation.
Terzi of Turkey finishing there. Bit difficult to tell, actually, whether that was a cutaway shot we saw earlier of Kanhai, or whether Kanhai, in fact, finished in fourth place.
Now wearing 7, we've got Michael Bishop, the fastest Englishman, and he's going to be second to Jerry O'Rourke, who wins 2-1 over Chris Hallam. Delighted to see that Chris Hallam's still on the course. But Mike Bishop is the first Englishman home in the wheelchair race. And here's Kanai. That settles where he's finishing there. 2:13.42 for Kanai in Japan, and he looks pretty exhausted at the finish of that. He really is. He's run himself out, no doubt about it. Alistair Hutton was the man who finished looking the best of the first half dozen. Kverno of Norway coming in. And there's Bishop. The man wearing 69 was Geir Kverno. We're not absolutely certain of his position, but he's amongst these. I think that's Kevin Foster. Is that on a Gateshead rest? No. It's the other Turk that's finishing. I do him an injustice. That's Alban of Denmark. That's Kvenmo of Norway. And 11 is Caetano of Portugal. Tremendous run from him. And they really are battling it out now. 39, Lindsay Robertson, the Scot that we saw earlier. He may well have got himself selection for Scotland in that run. Lindsay Robertson wearing 39. Kevin Forster finishing. The Gateshead man.
Just looking at some of these boys finishing, like Kevin Foster, your clubmate, Brendan. We've had some pretty quick runs in the London Marathon in recent years. But again, I'm convinced that a lot of them have paid the penalty for the early pace. Don't you think this is underlined by the way some of these boys have finished?
Well, I think Kevin Foster there, 2:15, and to finish, Hugh Jones finished second in 2:11. There's something wrong here, and the only thing I can think of right now is that the pace has been so fast early on. Some of them went with it, and they've suffered for it. Kjell-Erik Stahl finishing there. He always runs faster than that.
And Alan Storer's Chinese athlete Zhu Zuqin has gone through, number 36. He was in about 15th, I think, Brendan. So a good international gathering at the finish here. We've had Danes and Norwegians, Chinese, Japanese finishing with these British runners, as well as the Turks. John Boys wearing 22 from Bournemouth AC has just got through. And that's the second Turk, Ahmed Altoun, wearing 74, just gone through. Back in the mile, we're looking for Greta Weitz. And Jim Dingwall of Scotland, City of Hull AC, 36 now, with the beard leading that little pack. Larry Cratton of Sunderland Harriers in that pack, and here's Greta Weitz. Led the women's race from start to finish. And Greta Weitz being helped along by a small pack, but misses her brother. Her brother, Jan Anderson, who usually runs with her. 32 now, Greta, and finishing very strongly indeed.
Actually, she's outside Ingrid Christensen's course record for last year, which was 2:21.06. But she's very close to her own personal best on this course of 2:25.29. 1:89 with her, David Dixon of Sunderland Harriers. He's got a best time of 2:23, so he's very close to that. And he's the perfect companion there for Greta Weitz, pace-wise.
Seems to me that Greta is suffering similarly to Seiko. She was on pace for her personal best of around 2:24, but she's got a little bit of running to do in the last 2 miles to beat that 2:24, or to get close to that 2:24. So I'm not sure her personal best of 2:25 is what really was her target, and I thought she was going to run 2:23, 2:24. Doesn't seem as though she's going to do that, though.
Interesting point, Brendan. The girl that's running the times back to us and telling us how she's getting on, Greta Weitz that is Sarah Rowell, who was due to run in this race and one of the favourites, certainly the best of the English girls, but had to pull out with injury and couldn't run. But she's running on the time clock today to let us know how Greta Weitz is getting on. Dashing across the park to get us the time. So Greta Weitz, and it may be one of the last times we see her in a marathon, except hopefully in Stuttgart for those European Championships, finishing a glittering career. And she wanted to win this one back. She and Ingrid Christensen have put Norway on the map of marathon running in an incredible way, and both of them heroines in their own country.
Right, she's just gone through 25 miles there, and she was with David Dixon, who's a good club athlete from Sunderland Harriers, the 3A's champion club. she's put her head down now. She's pushing it because she definitely wants that personal best here, and she's still got it to do in the last mile and a bit. But I think she could do it, but she has to really run in that last batch, and she'll have known this. She'll have information. Whether Seiko got information on the way along the road, I'm not sure, but I'm sure Greta has, because her coach goes on the bike and shouts at her from all over the place. So her husband Jack's here to help her too. So I think she got the message then that she's got some running to do in the last mile.
I hope some of these club athletes realise it and can help her, because my word, she's been responsible for a whole army of women taking up marathon running. She really has done a tremendous job. The first world champion, she was 5 times world champion at cross country, quite apart from this career as a marathon runner. And it's extraordinary that a small country like Norway should produce another great champion in marathon running in Ingrid Christensen. And these two, great friends, but often battle away. And she's a girl who's got her legs in shape after injury this year through taking up langlauf skiing, which, of course, is a national sport in Norway. She thought she was going to be out of marathon running, and she took up this long-distance skiing 4 to 5 hours a day, and is a very accomplished long-distance skier. And her husband and coach Jack said that it's got her legs in tremendous condition, and she really looks as though she's got a sprint finish in her now, and that's the reason she's running well now. That skiing has really paid off, helped her recover from injury and give her the sort of the spring back in her legs that she needs. But she admits that the pressures are growing. She's looking forward to retiring. She says every time she runs, so much is expected of her, but she is still tremendously popular in Norway. Greta Weitz, running now against the clock for the fastest time in her life at 32 years of age. The first woman home by a long margin at the moment, providing she finishes. And if someone in that pack like Jimmy Dingwall can realise what she wants and just pick the pace up and swing along with her, then we're going to have another remarkable run from Greta Weitz.
There's a double incentive for those boys there. I can see a good friend of mine, Larry Pratt from Sunderland Harriers there, and as soon as he sees Greta, he'll speed up. I mean, he will help her, but he won't want her to beat him. But I mean, I think Greta, if she can just latch onto the back of that group, she can get some incentive and some help. But you can see she's accelerating. She's finishing stronger as the winner of the women's race than we did see Seiko finish as the winner of the men's race. So this is exciting. She'll be desperately disappointed to miss that personal best, and I think someone's told her that on the way. I think she can do it, and I think she's not gonna slow. She's running strongly, but there she is, passing the men in the last couple of miles. That must be tough for a good club runner, because these men are good runners.
Fascinating. Fascinating that although she should have a house full of cups and trophies, she's given them all away to local clubs, athletic clubs and schools. She's that popular that she gets invited all over the place. No children herself yet, but plans that in place of Seoul. She's not going to run in the Seoul Olympic Games in '88, but she is going to run in Stuttgart, and that will be a marvellous occasion.
She's so experienced, she's judged the pace of this race perfectly. She didn't get carried away early on, and she's certainly finishing very comfortably. No sign of distress at all.
And 5 times winner of the New York, or is it 6? I know that she's had a tremendous run in that. She's as loved on that side of the Atlantic as she is here.
Actually, it's even better than that, Ron. I'm just checking back. She's won it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. She's won there. And there was one occasion, actually, she didn't finish. She got an injury problem. But you look at Greta's overall record, and it really is one of the great stories. I mean, she won the international cross-country title no less than 5 times. Actually, just looking back there's Mary O'Connor of New Zealand in the all-black in second place, just going through 25 miles. We believe she's in second place. And at the last we heard of the ladies' race, she was being chased by Anne Ford and Paula Fudge, the twin sisters.
Trevor Hall from Leicester coming through to finish. Well done, Trevor.
Stan Greenberg assures us that Greta Weitz has won the New York Marathon 7 times. I did her an injustice. But her second win in the London, and that'll delight her. She really is charging through this lot now. They must sense that she's running against the clock.
Greta Weitz has gone through on the right-hand side of the shot as we look in. And now approaching the finish. Her personal best time in this London Marathon at 2 hours, 25 minutes, 29 seconds. So she's well on course for that. And Greta comes home very quickly indeed. It's a personal best at the age of 32. So many times the world cross-country champion. She's now run 11 marathons, which she has completed. She's won 10 of them. The only one she lost was the Olympic marathon to Joan Benoit when she finished in the silver medal position. So that's one of the quickest times ever recorded on this London Marathon course by a lady athlete.
She looks in tremendous shape too. Chris Brasher just going over to congratulate her. She really does pace herself magnificently. No signs of distress. And if ever there was a model for women running long distances, it's got to be Greta Weitz. Absolutely terrific. Looking Mary O'Connor, the second girl home. New Zealand's Mary O'Connor. She too is looking superbly controlled and well disciplined. Has trained herself for this event beautifully. Mary O'Connor coming home, and she's been given a lift by these club runners, running in the black, the silver fern, and they'll be very much in evidence in the Commonwealth Games at Edinburgh last week in July, first week in August. That's the next great gathering, the Edinburgh Commonwealth Games, and she may even be staying on for that. Wearing that black vest very proudly indeed.
Well, the New Zealand women are coming back. We saw them finish second to the English women in the World Cross Country Championships. And Mary O'Connor here leading the New Zealand distance runners. I mean, they've been top marathon runners, and here's another one from New Zealand. I noticed that Greta has only ever been run faster on this course was her teammate, Ingrid Christensen, in setting the record last time. So Greta and Ingrid own this London Marathon for women just about run.
Norway have got it stitched up, there's no doubt about that. Mind you, I think Chris Brasher saved some money today, has he not? Because course records had to be broken for prize money and world best times, so they've saved some money. So perhaps next year's London Marathon is safe. Now, that's wearing number 5 is Anne Ford for England, the 34-year-old girl from Hounslow. England's first runner home. Anne Ford, the oldest of the twins by 10 minutes. She's chasing Mary O'Connor, who's 31 now. 5th in the 85 London Marathon and was 2nd in 83, so she knows this route backwards. She ran well in the cross-country championships this year. She was 19th in the world. And chosen for the 10-kilometre race in the Commonwealth Games, and she looks in good form for that. Mary O'Connor of New Zealand. Then Anne Ford of England, who's also a former national cross-country champion and a bronze medalist in the Commonwealth Games, so she's in great form. That's her twin sister, Paula Fudge, wearing F10. Again, another tremendous track career. The 1978 Commonwealth 3,000-metre champion, the 1982 national cross-country champion. These twin girls, it's Anne Ford wearing 5, her twin sister wears 10. They're almost together, and they too have had superb careers in track and field and in marathon running. Mary O'Connor. Is that John Offord, I think, running with her? John Offord wearing 31, Lester Corritanian. Just going along with Mary O'Connor. And the crowd lifting her too. The rain has gone. Tremendous atmosphere as ever in this London Marathon, and Big Ben showing noon. A lot of vets will be amongst this group. 2 hours 20 is their target. And Kirsty Jakobsen from Denmark, wearing F9, is the next lady home. 5th in the 84 marathon, 5th in the 1985 World Cup marathon. Very experienced, and my word, these ladies have made this look good. None of them shown any signs of distress. They've paced themselves well. If the men showed the agony, well, this is the ecstasy. That's a lovely swinging gait. She really looks a superb runner. Mary O'Connor. And John Offord just having a chat, a word of encouragement. 2 hours 30 coming up. It's been a fine run. So we'll look out for her. She's just near the finish now. She'll be racing over 25 laps in Edinburgh.
Just shows you how good these women are, because there's Mary O'Connor finishing second, and just ahead of her, Don Ritchie in the red and white vest there. Looks like my own club vest, but he's a former record holder for 1,500 miles on the track, you know, so it just shows you what kind of athletes these women are.
Well, there hasn't been much doubt now, has there, for some years?
Mary O'Connor finishing, and the race for third place should be over in just a moment. So Norway win, New Zealand second, and a race for third place between Paula Fudge and Kirsty Jacobsen.
Now that was Sylvia Bornet of France wearing F7. Not quite sure where she is on the course, but that's the French girl, Bornet, who ran 9th in last year's Chicago Marathon.
Actually, it's a bit difficult to pick up who's third and who's fourth, but there's Paula Fudge, and we believe she's in and just coming through. And the French girl closing on her behind. F5 is Anne Ford, Paula Fudge's twin sister. Just behind her, and we believe they're in third and fourth places. The French girl, Bornet.
And she's the first that's looked pretty distressed. There's another race going on in the mile. Now, 18 on the back of that wheelchair is Michael Cunham. 26 is John Nord, London-based paraplegic, and Paula Fudge. Just coming home behind her twin sister, checking her time herself. And that may well be a personal best for Paula. Jacobsen is the girl just behind her.
That solves the placing problem. There's Kirsty Jacobsen coming in. We're thinking about 6th place.
2 hours 32, 30 plus. Now this is where the approach marshals will be bracing themselves, the pre-shoot marshals, the rope funnel marshals, the separators, the readers, the riders, and the chute pushers, plus the barcode pluckers, the spindlers, and the exit marshals. This is where they all get ready for the mass. And the first man suffering from real bad cramp, trying to stretch himself out. Do it the other way, stretch the legs, don't bend them. Oh, that's tough. He's in, that's 879. But there's a number in front, a letter in front of it. T, we think, T879. Struggling. I think that's Gordon Reeves from Saltwell Harriers. Tyne Weir from Cramlington, your neck of the woods, Brendan. Wanted to finish in 2 hours 40, but he's struggling now.
Actually, that is a Saltwell vest, I think, Ron. But it's significant, isn't he? Look where he is. And we've talked about the problems that cobbles give the athletes. He's around 23 miles there, and that uneven surface, if you really perhaps gone too fast too soon. You pay for it there.
I admitted earlier that this in the rain is tough to walk over, I tell you. It really is. Down there in the week, it's pretty treacherous. And but there's a few brave souls out there. Maybe the early euphoria has left them now, but this crowd has got to lift them, because this is what the London Marathon is all about. It may be the only time in their lives that they'll run a marathon, and it may be just one of those personal ambitions, and just to make it on the day is the first ambition. To make it home, of course, is the second ambition. Mad Sharples, there she is, back from a trip around the world. And really, she turned up at the pasta party last night with half a dozen marvellous T-shirts from Hawaii, from Honolulu, from California, and we raffled them all for charity, and £100 was made in no time. Good to see her back. I don't think the London Marathon would be the London Marathon without Mad Sharples.
If the answer is no, well, my sweetness means you meet me in the hallway.
Match was not at halfway there, and the scatter of talent at the London Marathon is quite astounding, isn't it, when you think of the gaps that developed.
I can hear music playing.
The new cartons of water there, non-spill, just suck it through a straw.
On the pipe. If the answer is no, I love you, yeah, my sweetness means you meet me in the hallway. Yeah, twice on the pipe means you ain't gonna show.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the big finale. I want everyone with their arms in the air. Every single one of you, come on. There are 19 million people watching you close the show, all right? Now, I want to prove that you're the best singers in the whole of Jamaica Road, in the whole of London, in the whole of the country. So I want you to answer this phrase, all right? Here we go. Here we go. Oggy, oggy, oggy. Oggy, oggy, oggy. Oggy! Oggy! Oggy, oggy, oggy!
You're everywhere and nowhere.
His arms.
Well, that's where you're at.
And the police, women and men.
Are rolling down the country hillside.
Go on, PC.
Oh, we're calling the cats.
All right, sir.
We're flying across the...
All of you over there, wave your arms.
Well, as we near the end of this first transmission on the 1986 marathon, a check on the placings. These are unofficial. The winner was the favourite, Seiko of Japan. In second place for Great Britain, Hugh Jones, who was the winner in 1982. Third, the man who was third last year from Edinburgh Southern Harriers, Alistair Hutton. In fourth place, the American Pat Peterson. In fifth place from Turkey, Terzi. And in sixth place, the fastest ever West German, Christoph Herrler. By the way, that's a provisional result, and this also provisional for the 1986 Mars London Marathon women's result. The winner, Greta, had time to be confirmed yet, what we believe inside 2 hours 25 minutes. In second place, Mary O'Connor of New Zealand, and third, Anne Ford of Great Britain. So as we look around now, the sights, the carnival in full swing at Jamaica Road just before Tower Bridge. That's the embankment with the athletes now some 2 to 3 miles from the finish. And it looks like a record number of finishers. So the men's marathon won by Seiko of Japan.